I have these stray ones. Oh no,
You guys all set?
Yes.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's.
Is the massive crowd here all set? All right, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 6:04-ish, I think. Please rise for the pledge, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now a moment of silence. Thank you.
Was that the tone?
Computer decided it was done.
That was it.
All right.
It's kind of a peaceful end to
Yeah,
the
well,
moment
It
of
was.
silence.
It was almost like school mindfulness.
But better. I'm gonna have to keep 7th graders still.
All right. Roll call, please, Marie.
Trustee O'Malley,
Yes. Yeah, where's the...
Trustee Patton,
Here?
Deputy Mayor Ryan,
Here?
Mayor Allen,
Here.
Trustee Bushner,
Yep.
Trustee Pine,
Yes.
and Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Also on the phone, Attorney Andy Gilchrist. All right, thank you guys for braving the weather and having a full attendance on our board. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for your dedication. Have a lot of important things that we have to go over and act on tonight, which are essential to keeping a lot of projects moving, which have all seemed to come together over the past month in a lot of different ways, which has been really exciting to see. First off, and there is one correspondence I need to add to this, so I want to bring that up on email and start with it, because Ted Senecal reached out to me earlier about Little League.
Bobby.
They have scheduled their opening day for Little League is April 27th. They would like to kick it off with their annual parade, and the rain date would be April 28th. I don't have a time. I could check the Facebook page. I'll check the Facebook page
It's
while I
usually 1
look.
o'clock.
Do we need a motion to approve?
We would need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the use of the park and surface streets for opening of Little League.
All right, and second by Craig. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Great. I just texted Ted, so I'll find a start time and I'll report back to you in a moment. Good. All right. We need zoning board members. We do actually have one zoning board member or a person who's interested in the zoning board.
Sean Nealon.
Sean Nealon has reached out to us and asked to be a part of the zoning board, which is great. So, Andy, what are our procedures for that?
It's an appointment by the board, and based on the information you get from the candidates, you review it, and it's just a formal appointment. We'll have to look up and see what specific terms, because each of the seats has a certain term.
Okay.
It sounds like there's many open, so you pick one that's open, figure out how many years are on the term, and you appoint them for that number of years.
The longest
Okay.
one.
Right, the
Yeah, the
longest
longest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Longest one.
Why don't
And
we
what
save
are our
that for the-
requirements? They have a Pulse and they live in the village?
Pretty much.
Marie, who is on the
Village
zoning
resident,
board
yeah.
at the
Yeah.
moment,
Chief.
you know?
10:30 a.m. start time for the parade.
On the planning board at the moment, Dennis Casey.
That's it?
Just that? I know, Andy, can you speak to this, about combining the zoning and planning boards together? I know it's an option, I think I broached it once with cities and towns.
Actually, my experience has been that planning board and zoning board cannot be combined, and the reason for that is they have two separate functions under the law. Once a municipality adopts a zoning law, which obviously Hoosick Falls has done, you need to also appoint a zoning board of appeals, because that is the job of that board to interpret any appeals concerning what the law means, and also to review requests for area and use variances. So that zoning board, the law says, sits almost as a quasi-judicial board. They're reviewing what the law means and reviewing appeals.
Okay,
Planning board sits just to review projects, site plans, subdivisions, special permits. So they have separate functions and have separate membership.
okay, what if we had a big project and we didn't have a quorum for the planning board?
That's a problem. You have to advertise, and you got to seat at least a quorum about that.
Planning. No, planning board, we have 4 or 5, zoning, we only have 1.
Okay, zoning, we have 1.
Zoning is Dennis, and, the other was,
Was Bill Hazen on the zoning board? He was.
not anymore,
He's gone already?
yeah. Dennis is the only active person on there that said yes to me when I called to see if they were still on the boards.
That's Dennis.
Yep.
All right.
Casey.
And guys, just so you get the big picture, once you adopt the zoning law, the law requires you to have a zoning board. The law doesn't require you to have a planning board. In this case, the Board of Trustees could act in that function. It's extremely rare for any municipality elected board to do that. Usually the planning board is appointed, but just realize you could do that, in which case you would formally abolish the planning board. I wouldn't recommend that here. I'd recommend advertising and getting some people to have a quorum of both boards.
Is 3 the minimum that we need?
On the zoning board,
Yeah.
is it a 5-person board?
It should be.
Yeah. If it's the 5-person board, you have 3 members for the quorum.
All right. I think we should
Usually operate.
I think we should wait until the next meeting in a week or two, whenever we set that, to appoint them, Sean, and see if we can get a 3rd in that time. Does that sound alright with everybody?
Yep.
And Andy, we'll talk afterwards about what sort of information we need from people. Beside, are they breathing and do they have a pulse, and do they live in the village?
I mean, I'm aiming low.
All right,
And you said Sean is interested in the zoning or the planning?
zoning.
Zoning.
Zoning, that's the one we need.
The town's experiencing
Nealon,
a
Sean Nealon.
What's that?
It's an issue.
Yeah,
Getting people to serve on the board.
or to volunteer for a lot
Oh,
of things.
I threw out last night, I mean, I think it's stipend.
I'm actually looking at doing that in our next budget, is setting stipends for these, so they're actually somewhat paid. I mean, it won't be much, but yeah.
We've had that problem, well, I mean, the
Actually,
town has
can-
never really been an issue too much, because there's always, some people who've been around for a long time always showed interest in it, but since a lot of younger people don't wanna be involved.
No, that's
No.
the problem.
Andy, can we share a zoning and planning board with the town of Hoosick if there are village residents on the board? Can we share members or share
That's interesting.
Different laws.
dual appointment, perhaps, if they are village residents?
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look at that. The issue is compatibility of office, and if a village resident is, if I understand it right, Brian, is currently sitting on the town planning or zoning board,
Yep,
they also at the same time sit on the village planning or zoning board.
yes. Or vice
I'll
versa.
have to look at that.
I don't know if we have any residents on our board.
Or if we get one, we
Got
can
lots
share
of
them
seats
with
for
you,
you.
possibly.
Here's your agenda.
Kinda nasty up on the mountain in Grafton.
Oh my god.
Nasty.
Well,
everywhere.
welcome down to where it's nice and
Not
Nasty.
quite
All
as
right,
nasty.
so we'll
Nasty.
we'll make a note to on our special meeting to appoint 1, maybe 2, ideally if we can find another one for the zoning. Last correspondent announcement: Hoosick Falls Central School's capital project vote will be held on March 13th. So go do your research on it and get out and vote.
Everybody should've got something in the mail today.
They did.
I did.
Should've.
Okay.
I have nothing
Bunch
I
of
but I'm sure I can.
Again, it
bunch
gives
of
it-
videos on social media as well. All right. Okay, I got a whole slew of updates for you, so bear with me. But this is sort of a summary of all of the. Well, I would say this is all. I would say this is probably half to 2/3 of all the things we have going on right
Do you
now.
wanna, pardon, do you wanna let the people to be heard? who's
Yeah.
just
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
not-
that's
why don't we
right.
jump to that?
I want to jump to people to be heard. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Marion,
I was
here.
just gonna say,
Yeah, I did want to mention on people to be heard. We were gonna get a speak sooner presentation, but because of the weather, they canceled tonight. So we're gonna see if they can hop into our special meeting to present there as well, or possibly in March. But that sounds like a really good thing. Marion, you want to go, and then we'll come back to the others.
Sure. So I'm here on behalf of Civicure, and Civicure last year, for those who don't know, they have the woodblock building, and they're taking care of the historic woodblock building. And they do a lot with art and things around the village. And last year, to raise funds, they held a garden tour, and it was very successful. We were on NPR in Albany. We pulled people all the way up from New York City to come to the garden tour. It was a big deal.
That's cool.
So this year, when we started planning what could we do different for the following year, we thought it might be really cool to adopt a garden in the village and totally revamp it and have it as part of the tour. So then we started inventorying places that were possibilities as far as where would we want to do the project, how accessible would it be for a tour, and could there be a dual purpose where the village would benefit at the same time. So we chose the Wood Park hillside that faces Wood Park. So the Senior Living Center Wood Park has a very steep hillside and walkway down that the seniors use when it's seasonally okay for them to use it, to come down to the village. And they had some problems with drainage, they have a problem with their railing, so we were solving some problems for them, hopefully making the walk and the railing safer for the seniors, at the same time planting the entire hillside so it doesn't need a lot of maintenance, it stops the erosion, and you'll be able to see the entire thing from the park. So I did a little bit of a drawing here. This is the senior housing at the top. This is the walkway down. It starts virtually at the corner of the building on the top of the hill and comes all the way down here. This is the railing that runs along that walkway. Now that railing currently is a hand-built wooden railing. It starts about thigh high at the top of the hill and ends about shoulder high at the bottom. And it is leaning in various directions, and it's very easy to get splinters. It's no longer smooth, even though it was built with pressure-treated lumber. So that is something that we would like to see. So the reason I'm here is not just to explain the project, but to ask permission for your assistance and for us to be able to work on some of these things. So the railing needs to be replaced, and when we're out there looking at it, it comes right down to where the village highway department put up that pipe railing on the back side of Wood Park along the drive, right where the drop-off is, where it's kind of steep. They put up a railing there. We were wondering whether it would be possible, since they built that railing, to do the same thing along this walkway.
Is that Mark, is that town, that's the housing authority, so is that a village sidewalk, or would that be town responsibility?
The town, the only,
Neil's not here to ask, so.
yeah, I don't think that's town.
Who maintains housing authorities,
The housing
roads?
authority does.
They do?
Yeah, my understanding is the only tie to that the town has is appointing board members.
Okay, so it's independent, so it would probably be if, just to clarify, you'd be asking if our village crew could construct that working with the housing authority? Cause it would be their responsibility, but we'd be doing the magic?
Yes. Now, keep in mind that actually, when talking to the housing authority, they aren't really sure where the property line ends.
Okay.
That used to be, that walkway used to be a full-fledged road up there. I don't know who at what time owned that road, whether it belonged to the village, whether it belonged to the housing authority. We're trying to make it seamless, so that railing isn't completely different than what is happening in the park, not 10 feet away from it. Patrice has put in her budget for this year. I think it's somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500, where possibly we could pay for the pipe. I don't know how much pipe costs, so I'm not sure whether that's enough, if that's sufficient or enough. So we would be asking for the village they would have to find out how much it would cost. It's somewhere between 200 and 250 feet. So that's the first
That'd be
Okay.
similar to what they put up already.
What's that?
That'd be similar to what they put up already.
The length up, going up the, is that the
Yeah.
Everly Way right here?
Neil took care of all that.
Yeah, Everly
Okay.
Way.
Alright, well, in terms of that, obviously we have a lot of things we have to do homework wise in terms of who owns what, and talk to Neil about that, but, we're
Right.
definitely interested in following through on that.
So the other issue is there's a drainage pipe which comes out of the ground about halfway down the hill. And I'm not sure who keeps digging it out. Patrice thought it might have been Neil.
Okay.
We aren't really sure. And there's a cone, there's an orange cone sitting on top of it. So it's like a bunch of rubble and an orange cone and a pipe that's coming out of the ground. I think it's drainage for up on top. But it does flow, particularly when it rains, rather heavily. Then during the summer, it's more or less dry. So what this does is pulls silt from along this entire ground area and has piled it here, which makes the bottom of the sidewalk, because there's no longer a catch basin for this water down here, it makes the bottom of the sidewalk a large lake, which then freezes. So even if they were to shovel that walk and maintain it, you end up with a frozen lake at the bottom, so the seniors can't use it. Now, that lake ends up being partway on the driveway, and it was just an issue for the seniors who actually brought it to our attention that, this really, we like to use this walkway, cause then they don't have to drive, and some of them can't drive. So, Dave Sutton, has volunteered his equipment and 2 days worth of labor with his people to dig this out and put in a dry riverbed, which is great for our garden and will look beautiful. But when we were standing out there in the pouring rain 3 weeks ago, this river that runs down here took out the entire bottom of the walkway. So now there's like a 8 to 10 inch hole, and which is, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 inches wide. It was hard to tell because it's still kind of covered with ice. He said, I'm gonna have my machinery here. I'm gonna be working on this. I don't wanna just drain this to be a continuing problem. My suggestion would be, and I would donate the pipe and I would do the work, is for me to just dig this out where it cracked the whole bottom of the sidewalk, dig it out, put in a 12-inch pipe culvert, and then I'd fill it back in with gravel, but you're gonna have to, then the village highway department would have to come in and pave it, cause Dave doesn't have any connections to having it paved. We don't have any connections to having it paved.
And actually, just quickly looking at the property map, the town of Hoosick Housing Authority actually owns where the road curves. So the road Everly Way, where it goes around the corner, is on their property. So village property ends basically right before the curve, and after you go around the curve, and it says right of way. So it looks like, I don't know why it's labeled as right of way, but it looks like part of that is all housing authority property, including, yeah, it looks like it's mostly housing authority property that's there. So we'd probably have to talk to Neil to
Yep.
get the specifics on these. Also,
Can I take a picture of that for
Yeah.
my phone to email to some folks, including Marie and Neil?
and also
Yep.
the road that there was a road there, and if I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure they just put dirt over the pavement, so there's blacktop underneath
I'll take a quick
So
peek at
there
where the
are,
road was. I don't know if they necessarily broke that up enough, so that could also be contributing to the erosion, because I don't know how thick the layer of soil would be on top of the blacktop.
yeah, that ditch that this water makes is pretty deep. But there's all the remnants to the demolished high school are there. So there is it's all surface ground. Because underneath that you hit cobbles and brick, and like 3 inches under that you hit cobbles and brick. So yeah, it's,
So overall, there's the drainage, you probably should go to, you'd probably want to divert then up further over to Wood Park, which is Wood Park behind the church as well.
yes.
Yeah, just to divert there.
And which is the way most things run. Why this drainage pipe was kind of left in the middle of the hillside, I don't.
I'm wondering if it was a culvert that came down the hill that, since they haven't maintained that, broke, and now it's just, that's where it's discharging instead of
Could be,
elsewhere.
could be.
It sounds like there's a lot of things to talk about here, but we don't have all the right people in
Correct.
the room right now, so it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like probably we need a working meeting where Neil's
Do you wanna
present.
go over the part about
and the
the
housing
Jerry
authority.
on the call center,
Oh,
community
yes.
service?
There are some mini projects that we'd like to use Jerry McAuliffe for, and we just kind of wanted permission before we just went ahead and asked him to do it. And there's, when Dave Sutton builds that stream bed, he'll be working with Gary Sussman, and we'll probably need another able body and maybe machinery to move in some of the big rocks that we're putting in, as architectural features on the hillside. And there may be some larger plantings that he would be involved in. The mass majority of this entire thing is going to be done by volunteers from Civicure. It would really only be, there's, seniors bought, they bought a little divider wall. They sit at the end of their building up there on this patio space, and the dumpster's right there. And they bought this little dividing wall so that they don't actually have to sit and see the dumpster.
Look at the dumpster.
But nobody's put it up for 2 years.
Oh.
So, I mean, that was one of the things that, you know, Jerry could do with a couple of people in probably an hour. But before asking him, we wanted to ask permission.
I have no issue with it, it's a great idea.
No, great idea.
Now, would Jerry use community service people to help do the work as well?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no, I'm
Yeah.
totally in favor of that, I think, you know, we use them whenever we can,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be
I'm
on your
sorry.
times, which is when he's with the community
Right,
services.
that's great.
Yep,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
that's-
absolutely.
Everybody go with that?
Yeah.
Do we need a
Totally
form of
fine.
motion on that?
I don't know if we.
And we don't need a form of
do we
motion
need
to
to because it's
approve
housing
community service to be
authority?
used for this, right?
I would recommend it, yes.
Alright,
Even though it's housing authority, which is an independent body,
We're sending them up there,
yeah,
though.
we're sending our,
as a village employee or just as his, okay,
Like, so it's community service.
okay, yeah, then that's fine.
okay, then I'm looking for a motion to authorize, Jerry and community service people to help out with,
Motion.
the work up there.
Second,
Alright, Ben and Brian, further discussion? All in favor?
aye,
Opposed? Motion carries.
So
In
that's,
terms of the others, we'll
Yeah.
we'll be talking to Neil when he gets back,
Okay.
and we'll be starting to plan ahead on that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention before I go, without the Civicure hat on, that the village-wide cleanup is scheduled for April 13th.
I saw that today.
And
is
that
Hoosick
means-
Rising
that.
taking that over this year?
That's
Actually,
HIYC3,
come to find out,
It has been.
Saint Cobain.
Saint Cobain has run it for the last 4 years and nobody knows, so. And they spend a lot of money, running it. They spend well over $1,000 on equipment and supplies and, so we'll be rallying, volunteers and Joe McDonald, who was a resident of Hoosick, who married,
Yeah.
Carol Lonis.
Yeah, I know Joe. Still works at Saint Cobain.
Yeah.
right?
He will be dividing everybody up into teams and assigning them projects. They will paint people's doors for businesses, their window frames, wash their windows. If anybody has a special project, they should email hoosickrising@gmail.com, and we will be referring all the special projects to him.
So this
Mary,
was,
what was the date again? Sorry, Mayor.
no, that's alright.
April 13th.
Cause I'm the Key Club advisor with my other hat and they help out every year.
Yeah, they do.
And
Yep.
Faye is in the Key Club, so I
That'd
can
be
tell her to
great.
tell her dad.
Yeah, she was actually at our meeting on Sunday, so she is up to speed.
Good, I will let her be the one in charge of that.
Hey, Mary, you're talking about, just cleaning up businesses, correct, though? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I think they washed all the windows through the entire village last year. And they start in Wood Park. So actually, any cleanup, I mean, if the village wants the back of here cleaned up or raked or garbage picked up or anything.
Okay, but they're not offering to residents.
Oh, no,
That's, okay, that's,
I'm
just wanna
sorry.
make clear, that's all, you're talking about, they clean the businesses' windows downtown, okay, that's. Cause
Parking
it says
lot.
village-wide cleanup spearheaded by Saint Gobain is what it says on, for the HAYC 3, I got an email today,
Yeah.
that saved the dates and.
Yeah.
I know in the past, Hasty 3 has sort of taken the lead on that. I know that Neil has been involved with this from the village's point of view of helping out, especially when they're getting rid of disposing things.
Yes,
So Ailish is no longer there. Who is, so the people in charge are now you and
Hasty 3. Hoosick Rising and the Hasty 3 board.
Okay,
And
okay.
I will contact Neil and tell him about the, where we need the trucks.
Okay. Because the last time that something broke down between Ailish and Neil and something didn't work right, I know the last time about that, but that's fine because we still want to do it, obviously.
Yeah, they actually advertised the wrong date last year.
Okay, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Some minor communication.
And I may actually, when the Greenway Committee reconvenes, we're on a small hold, I may actually see if they wanna do the Greenway cleanup that day, just to make it all.
Yeah.
They
One
had
day.
mentioned that actually, Joe had actually mentioned that, that if some of the greenway wanted to be cleared during that period of time, it would also be something they would be willing to do. There's also a stretch that isn't
There's some-
connected, that they would be willing to connect at some point, not as part as the village cleanup, but he wants Saint Cobain to be a little more active in, the community.
Don't we all?
That's a whole other volume and a whole other book.
This is my poker face in case anyone's interested. All right. Andy, you want to comment?
Not right now.
All right. Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
drive safe.
Yes.
Thanks, Mary
Thank
Ann.
you.
Use your hazards and your horn the whole way.
Yeah, I have my truck, I'm good.
You
Thank
taking
you.
the roundabout way home or Johnson Hill?
No, front way.
Just a couple others for requests that came in under people to be heard. There was a request by Gail Levitt to use Wood Park on the evening of April 13th. Is that the same day we were just talking
Yeah.
about?
It is.
Okay, for the annual glow in the dark walk for autism. I don't know how many of these they've done, but I know they've done.
It's like the fourth.
And
Yeah.
fourth.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she said the
Okay.
fourth.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and-
Fran.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
Marianne, thank you.
Drive safe.
Bye. Any issues with that?
No, not at all.
Then in that case,
Motion
looking
to
for a
approve.
motion.
Second.
I
Sorry.
think it was Brian and
In-
Craig will be
The only
doing it,
question,
Craig.
okay, so you requesting to use the park, does that mean,
Streets
Just to
too.
line up, to go out for the walk.
okay,
Okay.
so we're gonna need to coordinate the walk with.
It's in the evening, probably between 6 or 7.
No, I'm just saying we need to, or set up with the police.
When he comes in for his
Yeah.
report, we'll
For
tell him that.
the walk, cause I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right? So-
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of,
Hey,
Um,
hi.
April.
Perfect
To
time.
know that, we're getting reports that just to let you know, the roads are getting extremely hazardous.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna have a plow, we're gonna each follow a plow home.
as is the ramp outside that
I'm
Yeah,
gonna have
door
a
right
cow
there.
take me home.
Is that legal?
I don't know.
We were just discussing the walk in the park, or the
Autism.
autism walk on the April 13th.
In the evening.
They line up in the park and then do their walk, didn't they walk, is that
Last
walk,
year.
that when they walk Main Street?
Yeah,
Or is
they
it
walk
road-
around to,
Yeah, you did last year at night and it was all okay, right?
There was a different walk that was
They
in
had
the
a-
night that went
they
up
had a
Munsell,
thing
but that was
where it
something a
was
race or
glow.
something.
A
Right,
glow,
that's
that
what
was
it is.
something different.
That's
Yeah.
different.
The glow, yeah.
That was kinda hazardous.
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
they do
the-
this walk on the sidewalks, right? Do they need the streets or do you wanna clarify with
I
Gail?
think we need
and
to
then-
clarify that, but it's glow in the dark walk for autism, so
Yes.
I would assume that's what
And
they,
it's in the main part of the village.
What they do
where
is
it's all
put
that.
on glow-in-the-dark
those glow
bracelets
sticks,
and-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
I don't think it's in the
yeah, I
street.
They
didn't
don't walk in the road.
wasn't a problem.
Okay.
Yep.
The only one that, it was that other one, because they weren't prepared for it, and they had put like buckets out of water, glow.
That was the illumination parade.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine with it.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Alright.
Village-wide cleanup day is that
And
day
what
as
time
well.
is it?
it just says the evening, I don't know.
she
is
told
there-
me it's between 6 and 7 because they're waiting for it to be dark. when she called.
Alright,
Then if
All
you
right.
could just confirm and then give me a call.
Confirm
as
the
to
time.
The route, so then
And the
we're
roof.
prepared for it.
I know we have the motion to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, carries. Thank you. Also request St. Patty's Day committee from Kevin and Marie, I know them.
Who's this O'Malley and O'Neill?
I don't know.
They sound a little Irish.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
There you go.
Okay,
Shouldn't the Irish
Bobby,
abstain from
Craig.
the vote,
Although that would be, yeah, I'm.
That might be a fair number.
Bite your
Is the,
Ancestry and Irish.
is the Irish
Italian
flags, that's normal, we do that normally, right?
Yeah.
Nothing
They
new,
do,
okay.
I've already talked
And
to
then
Neil
using the
on
park,
that.
so that's fine. We'll hit the financial request in a minute, so this is just for the use of the Woods Park on the 16th, step off at 1, and the flags.
We're not doing like we did last year, Kevin, right? You're not using the park to, other than for lineup, not after.
Actually,
No, they're going into the army
Right,
this
right,
year.
right.
Alright, any
Could I-
other
could I
discussion?
just before-
Yeah.
Do we know you're gonna have a band, Sandbar's gonna have a band, that's it?
What's that?
You're just gonna have a band and the Sandbar's gonna have a band afterwards?
I don't think Sandbar has.
Sandbar will not have a band. The only bands, well, there will be a band at the Eagles and a band at the Polish Hall.
I think Bite is also having one that
And they're having music in the afternoon.
And, Unihog.
The Sandbar isn't doing anything?
They
Well,
don't,
they'll
they
do
don't
their
ever
They
thing.
don't
have,
ever have
do
music.
they just do the
They'll have the Celtic
games.
games.
Yeah.
They'll still have a big
They're
crowd.
louder than a band.
If we could, just clarify to them, they've been great, every one of them, we've never had a problem. It's just that they do use, plastic cups.
I know
think that would be safe
I
for
know.
everybody around.
The Sandbar does.
Sandbar definitely does, we know that.
I know they do walk in, and I'll be quite honest with you, we've never had a problem.
Right.
Years and years and years ago, because we had we had a crazy bar,
Matter of fact,
there's been
both,
no problems.
the Sandbars, I think, closes at midnight, and the Unihog said that they're not gonna stay open too late either.
Okay.
Well, we'll be prepared, it's just, I just think when they're walking from one place to another, if they would just use
Plastic cups,
plastic
right.
cups, and like I said, there's no problems, there's never been a problem.
I don't think, no place is gonna have probably cans of bottles anyway, right?
Probably Unihog only does.
Unihog's everything's
You know, when
cans,
those
yeah.
cans, but they're doing, aren't they doing it at the armory, Kevin?
They're doing the armory too.
Okay.
Then you're gonna have beer there, right?
Yeah.
And we'll always have the safe ride home like we have before. I've already talked to Steve's Taxi Fleet.
And I'll get you a copy of Unihog's,
You're on it.
liquor license for
That's
that
great.
day.
I don't need it, I don't need
Don't
any,
need it?
no, I don't need any of it, everyone is
They already have
always in
theirs.
compliance, they're fine with everything, we've never had a problem with it. And if they do have a problem, they know I have my cell phone number, they'll call me prior to the problem happening. And we'll have,
And the officers have been, at least when we were in the armory before, one of them at least hung out some of the time there.
they'll be there, I'll be here for the night, they'll be here, so. Good.
Hopefully it's a quiet night. Alright,
Depends on the weather.
did we vote on this yet?
No.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, request for financial support. Has the village contributed in the past?
Yes.
Yes.
What have we contributed in the past? Do you know off the top of your
It
head?
was on $3,000.
Wink, wink,
Yeah.
nudge, nudge. Ah.
Is that for the police and the hanging the flags, right? It's all in there.
All included.
It's usually
Let me,
$600, I believe.
is that what it is? Do you want me to, should we wait until next meeting, check with Denise and just do it next meeting?
It's $600.
It's $600.
Do we have $600?
It's in the
We'll
bu-
find $600.
Okay.
Earlier they were like, alright, let's start at 3, then we'll bring it down to
Usually
6,
it's
and then
in
it'll
the
be
budget.
fine.
It is. Alright, so why don't we
It's
approve
been in it for
600?
quite a
then?
few years.
Okay.
Yeah. Says the guy last name Ryan.
When you think of it though, we're thankful for the money, but a band costs over $1,000.
Well, we could always do 6 now and decide if we wanna up it at the next
No,
meeting.
it's okay, I'm just,
No, let's get the 6 done.
Yeah,
Alright.
we'll at least
Yeah.
have 6 committed
Alright,
and.
so I'm gonna make that motion?
Motion.
Alright, Vanessa and Craig. Any further discussion on approving $600 to the St. Patrick's Committee? You should probably abstain on this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions?
So I have to abstain because I'm Irish.
No, she's on the committee, so Kevin abstains. She's on the committee. Alright, great. I think that completes the people to be heard.
Can't focus, Ryan.
Does anybody here wanna speak on anything before we go on?
Don't all raise your hands
Dave?
at once.
Just. All right. Let me go back then to the beginning and go over the mayor updates.
Oh jeez, I forgot we went forward.
I know, we've gone back. Okay. Tons and tons of stuff have developed, and I just want to make sure you guys know what's going on. In terms of the Woods Book Buyout Program, the appraisals are wrapping up for people who've shown interest. That is, because not everyone in the area has shown interest. Most appraisals have been completed. The report should be in the hands of the village in the next week or two. The environmental site assessments will be performed in the coming week or two. In fact, I've spoken with a lot of these residents, and some are scheduled tomorrow. A lot of research and initial field work has been done for the surveys. The final field work will be scheduled and completed over the next 2 weeks. And again, someone already had their survey performed today, and there's more going on. So this is all ongoing right now.
What a good day for a survey.
Oh, I know it, right? Hope they got him before the snow. And once all the reports are in the hands of the village, copies will be provided to the owner, and we'll be able to schedule sit-downs with the owner, and that's where we will finally start to talk purchase. I gave them all an email update earlier this week and said that if everything works out, ideally speaking, we could be sitting down with them as soon as March. So that would be that'd be really, really good.
Possibly related to this, but indirectly, the house to the south of Pammy Binkowski, there's a lot. I know some orange fencing up and protective barriers. Was that us or did the
That was
owner-
Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just noticed they appeared.
Yeah,
So
in my opinion, the foundation wall has changed, and I believe it's become more of a hazard.
okay.
We are actively working on it.
Yep,
Alright.
and I know Andy.
I saw that change, so I assumed
Yep,
more had changed there, and it was okay.
Mark's been involved in that, Andy's been involved in that, and the village's position is that opinion trumps anything with the Woodsboro because it's about public safety.
Yes, no, I agree.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Going on, Snow Street grant. Dasney did give us the approval to use the remaining funds of the Snow Street grant to purchase a pump station to replace the current one located up on Rensselaer Street. The cost of the pump station is about $90,000. $30,000 will be coming from the remaining grant money left over for Snow Street, and our water treatment plant operators made adjustments to their budget this year to provide the rest of the funds. The purchase has been authorized, and the new pump station will arrive and be installed sometime in April or May. This is a huge step forward, as this will replace an antiquated pump station that has literally cost the village thousands of dollars a year. And I've looked into that just to find out. 1 year, I think the village dropped over $10,000 on that. And it will also provide the second part of the water pressure fix in this area up on the hills of the village.
And better fire protection.
Yeah, and better fire
Public
protection
safety.
up there too. So I mean, this is a huge thing. So special thanks to Jim, Josh, and Denise to figuring all that out. MRB for being part of that whole Snow Street grant. CFI for the work they've done and the work they'll be doing to finish this up. You had a question on that?
No.
Oh, I thought it's on. I thought
No, I
that's
said
on.
bless you to Kevin.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
Bless you, Kevin. So this is good, and I know that
You need it.
Jim and Josh have been paranoid about getting these things fixed up there for as long as Jim has been here.
I know that was when over the summer, and we had a very long conversation when it went down, and
Yep. And this is the only pump station we have that is this old, weird, confangled technology. So,
just your
very
question
good.
to the neighbors out there. A few of the neighbors have requested that when we get some work done, I said there'll be work coming, that we tidy it up a bit so it doesn't look, because there were some pipes and some debris on the ground, and I know that there are some people who keep their houses nice up there.
Okay.
So just to be mindful of the
We'll
neighbors.
try to make it end with a good finished product when this is all said and done.
Couple
And also,
arborvitaes.
when that time comes, we should talk to the radio walkie-talkie
so they can
guys
get
because
their-
they wanted to get their thing.
And get a
started,
sign put up. If you hear weird noises, call this number.
too. You may want to word it more specifically. But
Shit's
yeah,
going
basically,
down, sorry.
I get it. It's almost sewer. All right.
Don't have me write signs.
Sewer project, and we have a lot to talk about this, and I have a packet of information that we'll talk through later with the sewer project update that I made. The bids for actually, let's just get that packet out now. Write the wrong one here.
Killing a lot of trees.
That's how I roll.
I got it here. No, you
Thought I had one extra one for me. All right. So if you open to page 1, the back of the first page, this is the recommendation letter on the first bid. This is the force main, the pipelines. We had made the decision a while back to put both of them out for rebid, split it into 2, roll the dice to see how it worked out. This one came in $110,000, I think, below what was expected, so we saved there on that. We tabled accepting this bid as we were waiting to get permits from DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers. Fortunately, we now have both of these executed permits in hand. I got to make some phone calls, it was fun. So we are now able to move forward, accepting the bids for phase 1 as part of the new business, so we'll get to that later this meeting. If you flip over, the bids for pump station came in, and you can see the lowest bid is on the very bottom of the grid. Now, this just happened yesterday, and again on this one, I think that they were expecting this. This one also came in lower than expected, and I want to say we saved another 100,000.
Wait, you said the bottom one?
The
Is
bottom
that
one is the lowest
1163?
number.
One.
It is
that
1163
1163?
versus 1166.
Okay,
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it was
Okay, it's
3
a
or an
3.
8.
That's why I was like.
Yeah.
This one came in $102,000 lower. So this experiment that we ran, whew, it worked. We saved 110,000 when we rebid the force main. We saved 102,000 when we rebid this portion. Now we'll have some additional costs for all that work, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this came in yesterday. This is very, very, very good news, which means our experiment worked, and we're going to save money on this. So I want to give you that. We're not approving this tonight. MRB has to do their due diligence to go through and make some things, and basically approving the second phase, this one that was bid yesterday, is what we need the extra meeting for in a week or two, because that will help make sure that the project continues to move it and gets things going, so that ground is broken soon. The phase 1, the force main, that's the long pipeline, is expected to be a 12-month project, roughly.
8 to 12.
8 to 12. This one is, I think, set more of about 8. But it's important that we get both of them going at the same time, because it will save, hopefully, in the long run, and I'll explain that in a minute as well.
Is this the construction that'll go up the north leg of the Greenway?
Yes, that is the
So
one.
The request, at least from the Greenway Committee, is, because the village owns a lot of property on either side, is that the work be done next to the trail and not
It's all
actually
horizontal, right?
on the trail.
It's going right down the middle of the trail.
But it's horizontal drilling? Is it horizontal drilling?
It's the Luigi's option. Whatever they wanna do, whether it's cut and lay the pipe in and cover, or horizontal drilling. We haven't, as to date, we haven't got their action plan yet to say how they're going to do it or what they're gonna do.
But
Okay.
we specified in the bid package that it's either or,
Yeah,
what are at the
doesn't matter.
discretion of the contractor.
Let's get it done.
Yep.
But the Greenway Committee is worried about the path.
There's a couple things they had brought up with one, with how much property the village owns on either side, that next to it would be A, less disruptive for a long period of time, B, that path is pretty compacted from years and years of heavy freight trains going over it. It's not been disruptive. Part of the reason the Greenway Trail there is so stable and reliable is a lot of those years of wait. So by disrupting it and digging it up, one of the concerns was down the road we're gonna start seeing more erosion and more issues with the integrity of the trail, plus we'll lose the use for probably a year of that part of the trail. As people are starting to discover it, where if the work were adjacent to it, where it's mostly cleared anyhow, in a lot of the strain, if they can move it there for as much as
This is
possible.
kinda like at the 11
Yeah, I
plus
think
hour.
they've
say,
designed
hey, we wanna
everything.
move it 10 feet one way or
Right,
the
and
other.
there's
If
engineering
it's
drawings and
horizontal
everything.
drilling, we're golden.
Right.
You're not even gonna know what's going on. We won't see anything.
Right, that, and that would be the preferred method, but I'm just sharing where the
It's also
comments
going
are.
to be really, for our purposes, a quicker, so the
It's quick
8 to
cleanup.
12 might really get down to 4 to 6.
That's a huge deal, and I'll explain that when I talk about Amendment 5.
And if they do dig it up, they have to put it back as was. correct?
Original.
So will they fly the
With the
freight
fabric.
train in and run it?
Well, we're gonna tamp the hell out of it, right? I mean, yeah.
You're gonna get a vibrating, roller down through there more than likely.
Right.
You know, granted, you're only gonna have a ditch that's this wide, whatever wide the bucket is that they can
Right.
get the pipe in there.
But they're gonna put the liner back down for the, and
Fabric.
put the surface back down as well? The
Is there fabric from
Yep.
one end to the other?
It is.
They will return it to the original.
Condition.
I don't think they know that there's fabric underneath there, cause I didn't know there was.
So if they
fabric
dig that
under-
up, they're gonna have to pull the whole fabric up on the whole length of the trail.
Well, when they just, well,
Is the
cut it.
fabric on the very top?
The fabric is what the crushed stone dust, the dust, whatever that's called.
Steps
stone,
on,
Yeah,
yeah.
is
They
on,
can cut them. They'll just cut them.
They can cut it, but then they're going to have to put.
they're gonna have to
back
pull
down.
it all up to put it down
Problem is,
again, right?
if they cut that, then the chance of weeds coming up is a lot
Well, they're
more.
overlapping, they'll have to extend on each side,
Yeah.
just overlap.
But if it's horizontal directional drilling, it shouldn't.
We don't,
Shouldn't affect
doesn't
it.
matter at all.
You're not gonna even know they're there
Alright,
until they pop up, so they
Right.
can get another, and then
In a
they
couple
go back
spots
down.
and go
Which would be
down.
probably better for restoring the trail.
You won't,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be fine.
okay,
And we still can make some modifications, field adjustments
Mm-hmm.
at certain areas where we prefer to modify the.
Skirt it off to
Yeah.
the side more than down the middle of the.
It's kind of, and also, if that were, and also the committee had mentioned last meeting that, if some trees need to be cleared on the side, that's probably not a problem. Meaning improving views
Well,
to the
we-
river,
We've got
to get equipment in.
we've gotta get equipment in.
Right.
And we also don't wanna disturb, some of the property lines come fairly close to the trail from High Street. coming
Just
down.
in the
bank
one,
side,
yeah,
right,
in the
yeah.
one part toward the northern end, yeah, there's all those issues up there.
yep,
Yeah.
But tree clearing wise, improving views of the river is not a bad thing.
okay. So, so anyway, so the bid 2 came in, you guys need about a week or two to make sure everything's in order, so we need to schedule a meeting for later next week or the week after, which I'll talk to you guys, near the end about. Actually, let me do that, make a note of that before we, adjourn to find that meeting time. So just be thinking about that. And the last thing we're, waiting on is, we had put in a request, geez, was that through EFC? Dasney? I forget who we put the request, Andy, who did we put the request in regarding the deadline to close on the zero financing loan and grant agreement? Was that,
Well, it did go to DFC.
okay, EFC. Originally we're have to have that done by April 15th, just because of the fact that we've changed the schedule and we're gonna have to, do a couple other things. We're trying to get that to June 30th. We've asked and Rich has asked and we're still waiting, but they said they don't foresee any issue with it, so. I'll talk more sewer project in the packet when we get to that part of the new business, but those are sort of the big updates for sewer projects. Any questions on that? Alright, we'll move on, then we'll come back in a bit on that. Unsafe structures, we're waiting for a required variance from the New York State Department of Labor concerning asbestos abatement in order to move forward with the demolition of the remaining 2 unsafe structures, and we expect to receive this in the coming week or two. Once the village has that, the New York State Department of Labor, the variance, then Mark will coordinate with the demo company and the air monitoring company to schedule the demolition. Likely demolition on these 2 properties will occur in March or April.
Mayor, will we need to have a patrol car there?
Not on Spring Street.
On what street?
Not on the 6th Spring Street, that's the one where it's like almost falling into the Woods Brook. But the other one on Lower John,
22 John.
We'll have a pre-demo meeting, and we probably will have to close off part of that street for at least,
yeah.
probably just a day, that should come out pretty quick.
I'll defer to you and Mark on
Okay.
on the needs there.
I'll keep you in the loop.
Well, Spring Street might just be curiosity seekers that we may have to keep an eye on, especially if there's gonna be asbestos.
Well, we are gonna be coming down to that from Lyman Street,
Okay.
so, we may have to block off Lyman Street a little bit too.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. In
And
terms,
are
yeah.
we doing with those structures, and then to the email, I don't see it on the agenda, about the property on Center Street that had burned down several years ago. When these property structures are demolished, should we be also looking to adjust how we specify when we're billing for those bonds, because clearly.
Andy, we were working on local law for this exact situation, right?
We're working on a local law when a structure burns and the ability to place the village, place a lien on insurance
Is
proceeds.
that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about if it's a little ridiculous just that we keep charging the bond, even if it's cut off, if it's not capped from the main, that maybe we should revise if we can, how we handle that.
Oh,
If it's
yeah.
not removed all the way back to the corporation, right.
Cause if it's removed and capped, I think that probably we should be allowed some legal leeway, so people can, expand their yard if they want to.
Right, because we had the case where I sent the email
Yeah.
about the person asking about buying one of these vacant lots. and he was told that he has to pay the water and the sewer bond on that property in order to, you know, and he would continue to have to pay that.
But not that anyone's climbing over themselves to buy
You know,
the
and actually, I
Spring
spoke to
Street
him, and
property.
he's not, the person who was interested in the Center Street property is no longer interested.
We should also get that hammered out, because
Yeah.
those rules that came up were never told to me, like when we went through the Waldron Avenue tear down. So where those people may have an option to do whatever, depending on what the future plans are for the lot. You know, but that, if that option is available, to take the pipes out to the street and not have to pay anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not, then, you know, we should let people know.
So we need policy rules on these scenarios where like a structure has come down.
Yep.
And we have to tie it to how it works with their bond and what their options are when the time comes, if they wanna take the whole thing out.
Or, yeah, or if there are any, I think that's just kind of been, I mean, that was news to me, and that may be something those guys have done before, but we probably should have some kind of a policy there so that. it's-
Right, cause what they do now is just cap it off.
Right.
And then, so if someone wanted to buy the property, the parcel, and put a house in there, they could do that. And then you know, then hook
So-
up.
Would there have to be a new policy on reconnection, then it'd be the responsibility of whoever bought the property to reconnect right to the main.
If they were to
To a
construct a new building there, yeah.
Well, I mean, the first thing we have to do is figure out what policies are actually there.
Right.
Right, it sounds like that's you know, we gotta think this through.
Right,
because,
oh yeah.
I mean, do we really do we even care if they cut it all the way back and tear up the street to the main
Right.
line and then tear it up again when somebody wants to build again? It seems like we're, just to make them cap it 4 feet away from where they could be capping it.
Right, and maybe
Doesn't
the
make
policy
sense.
changes.
Right, cause digging into the road makes no sense to me.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I know, we've had issues in the past in the village with, especially places on 22, where if they have to get state flaggers and everything to, was it the Bugby property on, across from the youth center? Neil had an issue with, were you here then?
Oh, no, you know.
About cutting it off in the middle, so that would cost the homeowner, if
Yeah.
they tore a property out, a lot of money to hire 2 flaggers and to dig up to the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I think the issue comes back to we don't own the shut off valves, so we can only. But I guess that's something else to look into down the road too.
And
'cause
also,
that affects other things.
yeah, and also policies on the bond payment if it's capped and so on and so
Right.
forth. All right, Andy, did you get all that? I think we're gonna have to definitely follow up on that.
No, I did, and we should follow up, not should, we need to follow up. on that.
Absolutely.
We'll have to look at the underlying bond documents and how that was set up as well.
All right, thank you for bringing that up.
Right, cause it also it's gonna could negatively affect the village over the length of time.
Yep.
Because those bond payments aren't gonna be being made, and they currently are.
Yeah. Yep. All right, highway garage grant. The redesigns and documents are now complete. One action we will be requesting in this meeting is to advertise the bids with the schedule of a pre-bid meeting on February 25th. That's where the contractors come and ask questions with the engineering group. And a bid opening on March 11th. The bid will include a list of alternates, as a way of making sure the new building stays within the total grant funding without having to force any additional burdens back on the taxpayer. We'll take on the alternates based on how the base bid comes back. So if the base bid comes back high, then we'll prepare to do the alternates ourselves. But if the base bid comes back low, then we'll fit as many alternates as we can into the total funds available for the grants. Neil and I and MRB and Scott Bova have been talking quite a bit over the past couple weeks to make sure everything is set. Everything is set. Marie has the ads in place, and we just need to approve that. Which we can do now, or we can wait until we get to it in the new business. It doesn't matter to me.
Might as well do it now.
Alright, might as well do it now. Then to jump just quickly to the bottom of page 4 on the new business, I'm looking for a motion to advertise for bids for the highway garage.
Motion.
Ben?
Second.
Second Bobby, because he's closer to me, I don't know. Any further discussion on this? We are going to advertise in the TU once, even though it's expensive. We think it was worth it based on how the previous sewer bids came back, and the Eagle and Eastwick, of course, for I think 2 cycles.
2 weeks.
We
yeah.
thought about doing Bennington, but over both bids results for the sewer, nothing came in from Vermont. So we decided there's really not a reason to do
You may
it.
want to look at the Berkshire Eagle.
It goes to the Eagle.
Yeah,
It
they're,
does, okay.
they're co-owned. They own the banner. It's local ownership again, but the Berkshire Eagle will
Yeah, it
reach.
goes to 3 newspapers.
Yeah, it goes to all 3.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
And the Eastrick too, we love you.
It's our official paper. We will likely need yet another quick special meeting in mid to late March, just because of the timing of the bid openings. If we wait until the April meeting to approve it, then that's another 2 to 3 weeks that go by where they're not doing work in the summertime.
Our regular board meeting's at 12, right?
Yes,
Yes.
but again, the bid opening 11th, they have about a week of stuff to do to
Okay.
go through everything. So we'll need another one, but that'll just be a quick thing there. And just to get this, because I talked this with Rich, going back to the sewer project, which we're going to approve the bid for tonight, they hypothetically, it's about a 15-day period where they get everything together between you guys and the contractors.
Yes.
They could actually start the work at the end of February for the phase one, the forest main, which is fantastic.
If.
Yeah, I mean it's
if they
more
have
likely
their-
March, but
Their supplies, and
um,
that's a big if.
but either way, we have like 4 or 5 projects that are going to be going on between March and probably August, which is really good and stressful. All right, all right. EPA and DEC's stack testing at St. Cobain's McCaffrey Street. EPA's Office of Research and Development and New York DEC have been developing new technology to handle testing air emissions at the McCaffrey Street location, and subsequently would be used in other locations across the country, because this is kind of a new thing. It's in a sense a real-time mass spectrometer. It's real-time in its analysis or collecting things, but you can't just print out all the readings there. You have to do a whole bunch of work on the other side to get the readings. The original test date was supposed to be January 21st, but that did not happen because the federal government was shut down from December 22nd to January 25th. The new scheduled date is the week of the 18th to 22nd. However, if the federal government shuts down again, the date will likely be delayed again. Thank
Just
you,
why-
federal government.
Why are they putting the date out there just out of curiosity? Isn't that kind of like when you're going to do a drug raid and you send them
No,
they've
they've
a letter ahead of time? Hey,
they've had to speak with Saint Cobain to make sure that Saint Cobain is going to be running all of their equipment at their full.
so it's going to be all the
potential.
processes. All right.
Yes.
That's
yes.
why I thought the
Yep.
date was a little. Okay.
At first I was like, well, why are we giving them the date? Why don't we surprise them at some
yeah,
point?
we're going to
But-
raid your house. on
But
this
in
date.
reality, there's a lot of communication between Saint Cobain and the agencies to make sure that they can test in an appropriate way that's going to be the appropriate.
They're using new equipment on that too. I don't know if we talked about that before, they were kinda giddy about it.
It's pretty cool that it's a mass spectrometer that will literally just like sit on the roof and it will just catch everything and do everything, and then they have to go back and bring all the equipment back to EPA.
So the more colors, the
Um,
more frightening.
I don't know. I don't know.
The scientists that are involved were kinda excited.
It was,
about what's going on.
yeah, and this is something
Yeah.
they haven't done before, and there's the QA QC obviously for something new is gonna take some time, but we kind of had our own geek moment when we were talking about that in one of the calls.
They don't make those pieces of equipment portable.
Yeah. So so that's that.
Get that, yeah.
A last couple miscellaneous things. There was a substantial cut suggested in the governor's proposed budget to the AIM funding, aid and incentives for municipalities funding. This has caused quite an uproar in many municipalities across the state, as well as many towns and villages would lose this aid. Ironically enough, cities will not be losing this aid. If this goes through, we will be losing over $30,000 in funding. To put that in perspective, to stay under the tax cap, we have to limit any increase to our budget by around $22,000. So, special thanks. I did reach out to our county executive with a sort of an idea about getting all of the municipalities in the county and any other representatives who want to sign to a letter and send that back to the governor's office. So hopefully that will be happening soon. But
What did he say?
he's all about it. He's all about it. Just when you can Google this, and what I noticed is when you Googled it, every other area comes up except the capital region. I was like, why haven't we done anything? I mean, NICOM is doing things. The cities and
Association of Towns.
association towns. I'm assuming you guys have done things, and they've standard letters to go back. But it's and there's I don't know if I sent the links. Did I send the links to you guys on that? There's the state actually put out which areas will lose which, and we of the villages in Rensselaer County are losing the most.
Right, we saw that in the paper, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it was different areas, it was definitely in the paper.
Yeah.
So,
How much each area
Did you
was
say the
worth.
villages in Rensselaer County? There's
of
two.
the village, no, there's 6 or 7.
Rensselaer County?
Yeah.
There are only 2 official villages.
Hold
right?
on, let me bring it up.
Am I thinking something else?
Oh, us in Nassau?
Yeah, I thought when when Tony was in, when we had.
I
to
used to think
sit
it
through
was
that whole
fewer,
thing.
There's
but
only 4 villages in Rensselaer
So, but
County.
what is it that
Maybe
we
that's what I
want,
was
that we
thinking.
need to do? I mean,
this is a tentative budget.
Nassau.
A lot of people are
Yes.
thinking
And
that
us.
this is just him putting something out there so that he can give it back later to get something else, which is
Schools are nervous.
really good. There's a lot of people who are
Behind the
nervous.
egg funding.
Okay, villages of Castleton on Hudson, East Nassau, Hoosick Falls, Nassau, Scotticoke, and Valley Falls. So there's 6 villages in the county. But again, we're set to lose over 30. The next one is Castleton on Hudson, set to lose 13,000.
And you would think that our county exec would wanna do something about that.
Oh,
Seeing he lives-
absolutely.
Seeing he lives in
Valley
Valley
Falls.
Falls.
Ah, there you go.
Not
And one-
anymore, but he lives in Troy somewhere, but.
Oh, he does.
He
Yeah.
moved.
So anyway, we're trying to do something on that.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Hope that gets taken care of. All right, that concludes my updates. Thanks for bearing with, but I really want that stuff out and on the record. And it's really good to see all the stuff happening at once.
you didn't mention the blood testing.
I forgot to mention blood testing. Blood testing for round 2 is still available. It will probably, and DEC has asked me, or DOH has asked me rather, if this should sort of, the window should end around March or April, and I haven't really decided yet. They will still offer the testing after that point for anyone who wants it, but in terms of getting the data together and back out a couple months later, we're trying to figure out when we want to have this window closed. Things have slowed down quite a bit. They're getting just a few requests a week, but I just spoke with some friends of mine who live in the village, and they had most of their family tested this time, and they hadn't been tested prior. So I know people are acting on it, even people who didn't do it the first time. So it's good to see. All right, reports. Treasurer reports.
There's a lot of stuff
A lot of stuff.
there. Boy, there's a lot
I
of
have a
stuff.
question about the reports.
Yeah.
Do we have to read all, I mean, we've all read them, do we have to read them all out loud in the interest of?
Andy.
No, as long as they're on record in the village office, you can note that there's a treasurer report and it's available.
Yeah, I'm okay with reading them if we want to, but I just
I
wanna
mean,
ask if that's
I think it'd be
required.
fine to highlight the important stuff, but we've all read over them.
I'll just highlight the one thing that I got today. Denise, in working on budget stuff and things, payments, asked me to reach out to Charter Communication because we hadn't received our franchise fee yet.
We are. Did she tell you that's something where?
Negotiating
I
because
can,
the contract is up.
I can tell you that I got the letter from whoever the divisional controller is, and that amounts $39,000.
Can you forward that to me?
I can. It's dated February 4th, which would mean that the check should be like any time now. So
The agreement expired, and we're at the point of looking at it again. But that's
sure.
a conversation.
but we still need to get paid for
we do.
Okay.
2018, and that's what
Okay.
that
Yes.
amount is for.
Okay.
Denise said it's about $5,000 more than last year, which is good.
Because they strung more lines, so
Yep.
they have to. Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
that's my treasurer's report. I found this another $5 grand.
Ben,
Great.
let me- and remind
Thank
me
you.
at the
Thank
end
you.
to catch you up with. where
I
that's
expect
at.
all of you to
I'm
find
giving
additional
3,000 of
money
it to
on
the
this,
St.
your
Patrick's Day
reports.
parade, and then and 2,000 to Bobby because he's Irish.
Well, just so one of the things that we're talking about that too is the existing agreement. Andy, jump me in if I don't need to say anything. They're right now at 3%, but we can negotiate that and ask for more of a percentage
That's
from them.
correct.
So at this point, that's one thing Andy and I were gonna talk about tonight, but Andy is by his fireplace, I hope, right?
Watching Jeopardy.
Watching Jeopardy.
Petting his cat.
All right. Motion.
Brian, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Do you want me to forward this to you as well?
If you
Yes,
could, please.
please.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will.
And,
Yep.
and throw Andy in as well.
Oh, I'll throw Andy in. Don't you worry about that.
Motion to approve treasurer's report.
Motion. Second.
Craig and Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Thank
Please
you.
report.
We can make this quick. Total calls for January were 137, compared to December, which were 110. The rest for the month of January were 18. December there were 6, so it was quite a jump. Last year, for the month of January, there was 10. So
Wow.
those arrests
Wow.
were for burglary, criminal possession of stolen property, which was tied into the burglary. They were in reference to guns that were stolen. Grand larceny, assault, there was rape, investigation is still ongoing, possession of marijuana charges, forgery, bench warrants, driving while intoxicated, which our numbers are increasing again this year. Traffic violations, trespassing, resisting arrest. Involved in the two burglaries real quick, that involved guns and the property, all the guns and the property was recovered. We recovered the property here in the village based on a search warrant, and the weapons we recovered at a place over, a gun shop over in Vermont. So, the DEA is also involved, working with us on it, because it's also involved some drugs that were back and forth. The forgery case involves the American Legion. They had a substantial amount of money that was stolen there from checks. We were able to make an arrest on that, and we reacted to it so quickly that we were able to stop the checks from going forward, so they were able to recover their money as well.
Good.
We had a meeting with the youth center, in which I met with them. We're gonna start getting involved on the police end of it a little bit more, through the education, community policing, and fundraising into the system. We're gonna be doing, on Saturdays, they were very concerned with they had some minor problems there, more domestic type things. There were concerns with orders of protection as well as, some other domestic issues there. What we're gonna do is to talk to them on a monthly basis during their meeting. We're going to do more walkthroughs there on Saturdays, and we're also on our educational part of it, we're gonna be meeting with the kids, talk about drugs, different levels there, good touch, bad touch. And we're also gonna try to set up a program with the parents, we go in and speak to the parents at different times when they wish to speak to us and concerning the drugs, what to look for, et cetera, so.
Does Mickey get to go?
Mickey's gonna be there on a weekly basis, on a weekly basis.
I feel like they would listen so much more about drugs if Mickey was there.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
We're gonna try to break it down into two groups, because the way we speak to the younger ones, to the older ones. And, I always felt when we did the DARE program in North Greenwich, I used to physically bring the drugs in, especially for the parents, and show the parents, this is what we're looking for, this is what you should be looking for. So we're gonna be, stepping up a little bit more on the educational part of it with the.
Mickey might make some of the parents nervous.
And Chief, also while you're doing that, I don't know if you include jewel pods and some of the electronic devices, but a lot of times parents are unaware of what those look like and what the pods look like, or what they may even smell like. I know for one of our faculty meetings, they passed
them
around,
around, yeah.
so we could smell them, we could see them, just as a, I don't know if that's part of what you do with that.
We're gonna
but-
do an introduction of all, because what we're starting to experience a lot is the use of the mail to ship them back and forth.
Yeah,
And we've made a couple of arrests working with the DEA and the post office. So these are things that parents, all of a sudden they see a package on the front
right,
porch
why,
belonging to someone down the street. We want them to start asking that question, and if they're concerned, to give us a call and let us handle it, so.
and if your 18-year-old boy smells like strawberries, probably not a new cologne.
Well, it could be, so we gotta make sure.
Oh, that's true.
And the only other thing is, and Mary, I know you
Flavored,
and
yeah.
we had this problem with our phone system.
Yes.
I know you were involved in it.
But they're naked.
And I can't remember
Well,
her name.
they have.
Do you remember her name?
Jackie.
Jackie Berry, yeah, we
Jackie
have that
Berry
information.
Sent to me a breakdown of what, I know she did a walkthrough on it.
I have it.
What she did is give us a breakdown, and the savings that she somewhat came up with is almost $500. And that's changing the equipment on it. So what I asked is
That's
that
great.
she forwarded to me, and I'll get it over to you, and that maybe next month we can ask her to come in and make a presentation.
Yes,
to the
I've
board.
been frazzled for the past month,
I
and
have
I
it,
know
Bob,
she
for
knows, so
Did
she'll
she
make
send
sure I
it to
do
you
it.
as well?
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just email her tomorrow and tell her to
Yeah.
communicate with you.
I
about
actually
coming in.
did that already this afternoon, but feel free to follow up with it.
Okay, did she bring the cost analysis in as well?
She did, she has a little bit more information, but she wants to sit down and talk about it.
When our phone system died here, it was gone for almost 2 full days.
Be assured that the 911 was working, we made
Right.
sure
Right.
that didn't get
And
affected.
we had it out on
Calls in.
Facebook, and we had it out on the website, but the equipment in there is just,
It's not just in there, I think it's, you know, she.
Just on the note of-
Analysis is gonna
Yeah.
be for.
With
for
CIT, do they, if they handle perhaps, servers and internet and computers, that maybe we have them do all of our technology, cause I know we have other people doing other things, that it might be good just to contract with a professional company to do all of that.
Well, you were here, she came in and looked at it, right? We were able to,
Yeah.
she got us online real quick.
Yep.
So maybe, yeah, you're right.
In terms of our internet, or if
Yeah.
Marie has a problem with her computer, that if they provide a full range of services, we just go
Yeah.
with them.
We're dealing with a company close to Utica right now, like, we have to wait for them to respond back down here, and she's right across the street.
I would vote for that too, because,
Yeah.
there's updates I need to get for
Yeah.
my code software, and trying to get the person that we have in here to coordinate that has been, I just finally gave up.
Mark, don't you use her? Do you
The
use-
town.
The town does, but not
Yeah.
for
Use
the
her
village
now, but for
computers.
the-
Does she do this stuff for the town as well, then computer and
She does
update?
now, we went with BAS, she did give us a quote, for going with IT.
But in general, I'd like to look at that as something we do this year.
I think this is right on,
Okay.
and I think that this is the right time to do it because we're getting ready to do the budget for next year, so I think this would be
Yeah.
So
the way to
sorry.
go. And I know that the computer infrastructure here, we've made improvements on it, but there's still some major concerns I have, especially the server in the basement being backed up and being just old. We need to throw
Yeah.
some of the $5,000 that Ben found for us.
And the response
It's gonna be
time,
spent in 10 minutes, Ben.
yeah, the response
Ben
time
will
to take
pat-
2 days.
The,
to
the,
get
the response
something.
time was unbelievable how awful that was.
Will you be
How
able to
confusing that
forward
was.
the proposal, so he has it?
Yes,
I think I'm gonna ask for more proposal and
I'm just,
Look
get
on the
the
bright
IT
side.
involved, yeah.
Nobody could call to complain for 2 days.
Yeah,
it's pretty quiet.
alright,
Right?
thank you.
Except they all have our cell
Thank you,
phones.
While we're
so,
under
yeah.
Bob's report, do we wanna make, I don't see it on the agenda.
No, it's the other thing I forgot to put on the agenda,
Yes, and I have it here.
yeah, we have copies for everybody.
Okay.
Well, let's approve the,
Okay.
report and then we'll talk
Yes,
about
motion
that.
to
approve.
Second.
Wait, is it just
That was
big
Ben
thing?
and Bobby.
No, there should
Any
be-
further discussion?
Oh, that was the main one, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Couple more.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, you passed them out, say one here.
Who did the motions? I'm sorry.
Ben
Ben.
and Bobby
Yes.
second.
Ben and Bob.
I've been
Bushner
in
was distracting
conversation with
you.
Jay Wilson on that.
Sure.
He has spoken to them, they have agreed, that they are not going to be charging us. I've asked for a letter to confirm that, you know, he's passed on, the 911 coordinator has passed on to the budget director that we shouldn't be paying that 15,000, it's up to 15,000 we're supposed to on a yearly basis. And we haven't been paying it based on our conversation. So I've been pushing him to please get a letter, or if I have to meet directly with whomever down there, to confirm it with a letter so that we can put that to bed.
Okay.
So I'm pushing.
I was talking about something else, about the safe rides home for the St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, for the money.
They haven't given it to us the last couple of years, but they used to.
Oh, okay, yes.
Who's
I'll-
they?
Stop
Not
DWI.
Stop DWI.
How much is that? 300?
250, 300?
300 now,
3,000, I think, 3,000?
250.
Um,
Yeah, we take that out of our money for that. It's been a few years since we got it from them, probably 5 at least.
If it doesn't come out of staff DWI, I know you've talked to the PBA and they're giving you something for the T-shirts.
Mhm.
But I will talk to the PBA, maybe we can cover it, because it works with us on this.
Right.
Maybe PBA can cover it as well.
Okay.
A lot of people use it, so it's, keeps people off the roads.
No, it works.
It definitely works.
I don't think we've made a DWI arrest on St. Patrick's Day.
A couple years ago, didn't you have a guy,
Cause
Well,
it's 1
he-
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
right, at Cumbies, right?
yes, yes.
Alright, so, and again, my apologies thank you for catching this, this is a resume for an
Sidetracked.
officer. Chief, you said you did the background check and it's all fine.
I did a background check, and the reason why I'm at, it seems like we're always asking for officers on a part-time basis, is that I've lost 2 officers, here, and I'm holding on to a couple of officers right now that I tend to think they haven't been working, and they probably won't be working, so I think we're gonna be losing them. And the summer months are coming up, and these numbers are starting to increase on us, and, I just feel, I don't wanna get caught shorthanded.
No.
And again, the cost to the village is nothing other than
Right.
the issue uniform and what they're working.
Who resigned or who?
Mark Carroll went to Troy PD, and Dave Amodio, has left.
Okay.
He just retired outright. And,
Okay.
we're looking at, I still got Neil Danbury on, because he thought he was gonna be able to come back, but it doesn't look like he went to Watervliet. And Ryan McDonald, who we've kept on, looks like he is tied up with Troy and possibly going to their housing, so I'm confident we're gonna be losing these two.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Right now too,
Okay.
so.
All right.
And we did hire Sabrina.
Yep.
As our female, and it's been working out great.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that, we
Did
can.
Crystal wanna come back?
She wanted to come back, she talked to us, but then Albany, the cost there is just, it wasn't gonna work. So, I mean, I'm hoping that when we do start looking again, we can start looking for another female
Okay.
officer as well.
All right. So I didn't give you the copies of all the certificates, but he
I saw,
furnishes all the
yeah,
certificates, so
yeah,
that's,
he's
that looks-
that's
definitely
good.
certified. and-
I think he's a
They're all
full-time in
here.
mechanic
If
though, right?
anybody
Yeah.
wants to see them, I have them.
Just make it, so we just need to make a motion to
Yeah.
appoint Matthew Waldron as a part-time police officer for Village of Hoosick Falls Police Department.
Yep,
Second.
Thank you.
Brian and Craig, any further discussion? You said he's full-time in Mechanicville?
He's full-time mechanic,
No problem.
but, he's gonna be leaving Mechanicville. He's gonna be working another job, and then he wants to work part-time here.
But
And-
he's still, but he's full-time right now.
No, he's left, he's leaving this week
Okay,
from Mechanicville, so
Okay.
the only job that he's gonna have will be with us, and he's gonna be working a part-time job somewhere else, but I think he's looking to go full-time.
Andy, do you have any idea what probationary period would be in this circumstance?
I do not. I think, we corresponded on it, Rob, that, I think this would be construed as a lateral hire, since he was at Mechanicsville full-time.
If he's still,
Andy, but I still believe we have the
Probationary
right,
period.
oh, hold on, 1 second. You can come closer, it's fine.
if I'm not mistaken, I think as the appointing jurisdiction, we have the right to set our own probation. Correct? Maybe?
Quite frankly, on that issue, I'll defer to Labor Council. I'm not sure. I mean, in theory, of course, the municipality will set a probationary period for a new hire, subject to the first, either collect bargaining or accept service requires, but I'll defer to Labor Council on that.
But in this situation, right now, he's working at Mechanicville, he hasn't
Right, but
left
he's,
yet.
right, well, no, he's done as of this week, so he'll be finished. What I think we can also do, and I can follow up with our civil service, I think our civil service, if we appoint him and he's able to do a lateral transfer,
Then
under
there's no
civil
probation
service,
period.
I think there is, I think there's still a probationary period.
I thought there was none if he was, oh, you're thinking of a straight transfer.
Under civil service, from one civil service to the other.
But it's different county, does that?
I'll check with our county civil service on
And
it.
I'll reach out to, Elaine.
And just see, and I think that if there is a probationary period, we should put it in for the amount that they're allowing us to have.
Right, my suggestion would be, hire would be subject to a probationary period in compliance with, civil service provisions.
Did you get that?
And I'll follow up with our civil service tomorrow. If they feel that we need to defer off to our attorney, I'll forward it over to you.
Alright, okay.
Do we need a motion to approve his?
So, I need a motion to adjust the current motion to what Andy said.
motion.
Second.
Alright, Bobby, and Craig, all, in favor of amending the original motion as stated by Andy?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, and now the actual motion to hire, subject to all the stuff that Andy said that I can't repeat. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
Good chief.
Just be careful on the way home. I'll be here, but I've got some other things that I gotta do.
okay.
Thanks.
Do we have to approve the chief's report?
We already did it.
We did.
Code enforcement report, Mark.
Do I have any time left?
No.
2 seconds.
We've got another foot of snow.
Can I just say, Mark, you are ridiculously busy.
I did a 2-week concentrated effort that included weekends and everything else to try and go through every single case file and try and get somewhat caught up.
Did you make it?
I did, last Friday
Wow.
at 5 o'clock, I felt like gone through that last file. So what I noticed through a lot of this is that a lot of the building permits had expired. People do not get back to me as far as requesting inspections, telling me when their project is done. I did send out some letters to tell people that if they need a CC or a CO, that they have to have a final inspection. I'm not gonna issue it. I basically closed out the permits and stuck it in the file. So if people need that and they want me to go do a final inspection. Now, I also have a pretty good stack here of probably 15 that I'm just gonna do some drive-bys on the properties. I just haven't gotten to that yet. I think, one of our board members might even be in my pile, so.
That's mine, right? Was that Craig's?
Oh, no, I see yours all the time.
All right. Yeah, you do.
And one of the things that I have discovered too is there's only, you can only renew your permit once. So your permit can only stay open for 2 years. So, that's.
That makes sense.
And that doesn't work for it. It does make sense.
Yeah,
And,
it does.
So, a couple of things to point out. There are around 40 properties that are vacant. Not all of them are red tagged, some of them are just vacant, I'm aware of them, I have a case on them. But that seems to be a pretty substantial number of vacant properties. And I'm sure I do not have them all listed. I'm sure there's others. So, and I did send this is my most updated list, I did send this to the fire chief in Hoosick Falls. So I do talk to him and try and keep him abreast of what we have, so that, they have their own, however they set it up over there, so that if we get a fire call to one of these properties, they don't go looking to rush in, thinking there might be somebody in there, so we are trying to keep that part of things up to date. I wanted to point out the sidewalk over here on Classic Street,
Right.
where that iron plate is. Somebody told me they thought it had dropped some more. I did go up and take some pictures. I think it was one of those Saturdays I was here. I went up and took some pictures. It has changed a little bit. What's happening is what was the front foundation wall of the building that was there has collapsed. So it's undermining the sidewalk, which is why the sidewalk. Alright, so that only gives us about 4
Empty
feet.
lot.
Our favorite guy owns that.
Oh,
4 feet or 6 feet to the road. So the concern is that, these rainstorms, that it's gonna continue to undermine.
To a road.
And
Yep.
it's gonna at some point affect 22, so.
and do you remember this property?
Remind me of the location.
Ava Gardner.
Ava Gardner. That's right, I said.
Route 20, it's right on Route 22, Andy, right across from the Key Bank parking lot, the Grandma Moses mural. That sidewalk across the street.
This is related to the easements we tried to get for the sewer property.
Right.
And he's got a sidewalk that is collapsing, and we've put some stuff up, and it's getting worse. And we issued something. What did we
I
issue?
did issue notice of violation. There's 2 lots there that he owns both of them. On the other lot, it's a sidewall along the side of the insurance company that started to collapse. And so that's not as much of a concern, because that's not gonna affect the road. We're worried about affecting the road tonight. So I am to the point, he did come up here this past summer, he met with Pat Kitis, and I thought they had a plan, I thought they were gonna take care of it, it didn't happen, so, I'm gonna have to issue another notice of violation and get after him a little bit, so. He seemed to be willing to cooperate originally, but nothing's happened.
Is he gonna say we cracked the foundation by driving our tanks by?
No, that's a different favorite.
That's
No,
a
that was-
potential for a sinkhole.
That was
pretty
his
much, Mark, right?
excuse for the building we made him demolish, was that the tanks going by cracked it and.
No, this is a different owner. This isn't the
that's
guy you're
him.
thinking of.
No, that's him.
Also, I think in the previous meetings,
Rob.
Neil
That's
talked
him.
about this, and he was gonna contact DOT to,
Yeah, he owns
DOT's
all
aware
of
it.
those.
They've taken pictures. So but they washed their hands of it, it's not their issue.
until it
Yeah,
crumbles in and.
he was the one that tanks cracked his building.
Craps out, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're saying it's home.
He wanted to put the-
I thought he was the one who said that.
No.
He said that too.
He
Oh,
probably,
not
he
tanks.
probably
It's not
did.
an easy fix.
Yeah.
Can't keep track.
Considering the amount of traffic that goes there.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
not like you can just rip up the sidewalk, put in a bunch of fill, put the sidewalk back.
We're gonna have to make this a pretty big priority because if that caves in more, that's a huge
Right,
huge
so,
issue.
So I wanted to bring that to your attention, I will pursue that more.
Alright.
The other thing that I wanted to point out is, everybody's talking about, because I guess it's been on the news a lot, April 1st, people have to go to the 10-year sealed smoke detectors in their homes. There's some information that not everybody is getting right on that. From what I've been able to gather from looking at the law and stuff is that law was targeted towards sales. Anybody who sells the smoke detectors can no longer sell the battery, just the plain old battery in certain ones. They have to be the 10-year sealed battery ones. Or if they're a hardwired unit, it's a hardwired with a sealed battery backup. So that law is really targeted toward the stores and the sales. However, if you are going to sell your home, or if you're going to rent an apartment, you have to bring them up to the current, to these current smoke detectors. So, I did tell somebody today, that's how I will be dealing with it, as I go in and do inspections on apartments. They'll be having to, after April 1st, they will be having to update, their smoke detectors, in their apartments to these 10-year seal. And they are kind of expensive. And for homeowners, if you want to upgrade them, the American Red Cross has a program where they will do it for free. They're looking for some local volunteers, and there's a campaign that's gonna be coming up, I think it's in April, for a couple of weeks, where you could just call the Red Cross, get on a list, they try and get some local volunteers. They will pay for the smoke detectors. So they get installed free, the volunteers put them in, and, so it's kind of a freebie, so people, if they wanna update to the new smoke detectors, it's a way to do it where it's not gonna cost them any money.
Is this being done so people don't take the batteries out?
Yes.
And plus, it forces you to replace them every 10 years when the radioactive element is
And that is
expired.
the other part of this, is that, any smoke detector over 10 years old
Yeah.
Needs to be
has
replaced.
to be replaced. There's usually some kind of a code on them.
But nobody knows.
Most often you can tell just by looking at them.
Is that standard or is that new, that every 10 years you have to replace it with the
It's
actual
standard.
detector?
If you look at them, they have an expiration date on them.
Yeah,
Nobody
and
looks at 'em.
but nobody's really, they kind of tied that in, I think, with this new law.
Okay.
This law was passed in like 2015, was supposed to start in 2017, and then got pushed out to April 1st.
They should have like the radioactive element in it. It's-
Alright.
Mark, one other thing, somebody passed along to me in the email is the New York State Attorney General has monies available for, I think it's maybe just technical assistance on zombie properties, but, I'll check more into it and see.
Well, the other part of that is, the helper that I used to have that, is still amongst us.
In
But
your
it's
new
no
role.
longer my helper. I mean, if I had somebody,
Talking about you, Marie.
that really is something that I think that I could put somebody on to get
I
familiar
will,
with the whole zombie stuff and.
I will try to get that ready for the next meetings. I know we've had a few applications come in. I'd like to see what funds we have remaining that were budgeted for this year for that. And then get a plan not just for this year, but how it will fall into next year's budget as
So
well.
that's money well spent.
Absolutely.
Can we give it a
that's
cool
what
name
it's-
like Zombie Fighter or Zombie Guard? Just, really make it sound like an exciting job.
There's,
Speak,
there are a number of, property preservation companies that I am starting to work with more and
Okay.
more, as far as getting in and cleaning up and doing some of the things that need to get done, so.
That's great.
I am seeing some more activity there.
speaking of one zombie property, Mark, which I don't see on your list here, on Super Bowl Sunday, February 3rd, I saw the fire trucks across from my house, and there was Neil was over there with the backhoe and Josh on, I'm not sure what the number is, Center Street, I believe. It's the corner of Center and Fourth.
I don't have that on there.
No, I don't think so.
It's because maybe I haven't gotten to that one, it's in my pile here, the people have walked away from that
Yes,
property.
yes.
They turned the water off that day to that house, and they did tell me about that, and that's another thing too, that is happening more and more, it's a good thing. When the water department goes and turns something off, they let me know, so that I can follow up on the property, see what's going on. Because any property that doesn't have water going to it, obviously, is an uninhabitable property.
Right.
So it needs to be flagged and tagged as such.
Right, cause my question regard, not just that, but the property owner said that they contacted the village and told them about that about 3 weeks prior. And I don't know, do we have any record of that, Marie? If somebody called here, would you take the call, or would Judy take the call about?
I don't recall, but I know what the property you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
Cause they said, well, you know, somebody, you know,
They may have called and asked a question or wanted the water department or something to that effect, Bobby.
but no, and I, you know, they said they hadn't been there in probably well over a couple months, they haven't been there.
Yeah.
And they said they called just a couple weeks ago, like a couple weeks prior to the February, the middle of January, they said they called.
no, cause we didn't realize that they had walked away from it,
Right, so,
so.
okay,
If I knew that, I would open a
Yeah,
case.
'cause I think I
right,
remember.
and that's why I,
About it.
And that was, yeah, that's one of the things, to hear that they're gone from that property for 2 months, and now all of a sudden we have to deal with it on a Sunday.
yeah, 10 o'clock in the morning, there's
That's
4
just-
feet of water in the cellar.
Yeah, that's not fair to our employees.
Oh, yeah.
That should not
The
be.
walls, the ceiling caved in the hallway when you walk in the, cause they said the water was turned on, the water couldn't have been turned on, cause the water was spraying like a shower in the inside walls.
The last I knew, she was still living there. I
Yeah.
had no clue that it was empty.
That's what happened on that First Street one, remember where it was like 1 million gallons?
Right.
Went through, it was a $20,000 water bill that the bank ended up paying on that one.
Jeez.
And the worst part is they told me,
Jeez.
the individual told me like 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks prior to this happening, that she was in there and she heard water running. And then when it was bitter cold, February 3rd, that's when yeah. And I saw Josh and Neil over there, Neil digging with the backhoe, and Josh, you know, it couldn't be any worse day, you know, it's 5 below zero out, and they're out there and the fire department was there.
That's unfortunate, I mean, if people are aware of a vacant house,
Right.
they should let us know so that we can.
But so you are aware of that now as far as that property?
Yeah, I do have.
Okay, I
have
just wanted to make sure, cause I didn't see it on the list, that's all.
No, I apologize.
No
Should be
problem.
on the list.
Any more questions for Mark?
No?
Motion to approve code
I'll
enforcement report?
make that motion.
Second,
Bobby and Ben, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Community service report, you can see it there, that all their good normal stuff. Looking for a motion to approve
Motion.
community service report.
Second.
Bobby and Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Village clerk, deputy clerk report, they're crazy busy. As you can see there, any questions for them?
No.
Motion to approve their report.
motion.
Motion.
Good lord, Ben and Vanessa, I think we'll give that one too.
Maria, I'd like to see this, that you have the number of home changes hands on there, I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, Judy keeps good track of that.
Well,
Perfect, that's
whenever I
great.
get the list from Tony, then I
That's
revise
great.
it and put it in ours, but I haven't had a list recently.
No, that's perfect, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Highway department, Bobby, you wanna summarize? There's a lot of stuff there, but a lot of good stuff.
Chips, well, the big thing, chips money, the report was finished, and so now we're waiting for our check from, Chips, and we did receive a new sewer truck, ended up using Chips money, what's that? Huh? Chips funding to pay for it,
I just
So-
got that too.
and we have another truck that's dead, so it's, we need to replace that in this fiscal year. Neil said the money's available,
It is, he's found the money with Denise,
so,
and that we have on the agenda, it's actually, here you go. These are the, quotes, it's the cabin chassis, not the whole, everything. This is coming up later in the meeting, but just so you guys have it now, and can look it over. These are through, is it state contract, Andy?
It's state contract.
Yes, okay, here you go.
Take time.
So the two bids were the Ford for 29.8 and the Chevy for 31.8, and obviously Neil wants the Ford.
Oh, nope. I got the one
What's the,
side.
what's the hot tub there?
It's okay.
I'll leave it in.
Is there any conflict with the dealership? And
No, we had a problem with
Village.
a different dealership.
conflict as in we have somebody that is an elected office with the village that works for that particular company,
Not at Ford dealership,
Ford or Chevy?
Oh, yeah,
at the Chevy.
no, they have Fords now too.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
It's, I'm just saying, is that an issue we have to worry
No,
about
it's
or no?
not.
Is
No,
that
they
separate
have no
from?
say in the matter whatsoever, so
Okay.
no, they're not on this board that's making the decision.
Okay, I just wanted to tuck that,
Plus
yeah.
it's the state price, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
but Brian is making a valid point, I know what he's saying,
Okay.
exactly.
Just
Okay.
checking.
Yeah, so that's new business.
One bid.
That is the new business, we
Well,
can
we only
jump
see
there
the
if you
one bid,
want.
right?
Fireworks
Sure.
on the-
Yeah.
The one in the back is the other one.
Oh, I don't have one.
Some of us don't have the back.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
it's blank,
Nothing
thank you.
clear.
But they're both the same
That's me, I didn't give
owner.
them to him because we were going with
This is
Ford.
the other bid, this is the 31 bid,
Sorry
that's
about
the
that.
Chevy.
So they voted against themselves.
With permission from the board, I will entertain, the motion to, where is that one?
Last page.
It's on the last page. Motion to approve the purchase of the Ford cabin chassis for $29,879.
79.
I will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Like everyone, can you put down everyone for that one? I'll give that one.
Kevin.
Just Ben and Bobby for the second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you.
Neil says thank you.
Neil says thank you.
I have one question about the highway department.
Yep.
One of the comments in here is, on the bid, the drawings for the highway garage.
Yes.
So he says he's still waiting on the final drawings, but I think we have new business tonight to send out for bids.
Yes, the final, he's reviewed the base final drawings, like the not the ones that like they come in the whole wrapped up thing and we get those forever. Those are coming this week, but he's already looked over the plans in a smaller form and given his okay on that.
Okay.
So
I
yes.
just wanted to know the answer.
Yep, no, good question.
Well, I do want to, under Neil's, I also want to thank Nick Swanson for, he went down and did some welding repair jobs for Neil.
Is
at
this
no-
Officer Swanson?
Yes,
Yes.
at no
Okay.
expense to the village,
Nice. That's nice.
because he is a
That is
welder by
awesome.
trade, so.
That is awesome.
'Cause, yeah, he's cool.
Alright, I'm looking for a motion to approve this report.
Motion.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Second.
Second, Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No report at this time for the sewer department because their computer died. But I did my fancy go and figure out how to buy a new great PC for the office for about $150 and did that. And it will be installed on Thursday. And they're also gonna look at all the heap of wiring down there and try to figure out what, cause his internet died as well, so. I asked if he had a report and he said I don't have a computer. I said, okay, you win. Water department, they don't have an excuse. No, I'm just kidding.
What's Jim's excuse, he's out plowing driveways?
They've been busy. We've been in touch with them about everything going on, so that's no report from them. Alright, we have lots of minutes to approve. We've sent them out. Craig, you sent in 2 changes which Marie made. Both of the attendance of the one and I think the blank page on the other one. We have to do these individually, so unless you guys have an issue, I'm looking for a motion to accept the September 11th, 2018 minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Brian and Craig.
We'll do all of them to keep it easy on Marie.
There we go.
Perfect.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. October 9th, regular minutes.
Motion.
Second.
Brian and Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? October 29th, special meeting minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, carries. November 13th, regular minutes.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? December 11th.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? January 8th.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't know why that was so funny, but
Motion.
man, we were like all in and focused on this, and it
You
was
guys are really good on that,
great.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
That was well done, Brian.
One
Most
thing on the
efficient
reports
meetings
that Craig
ever.
brought up, I think that's, I'm,
And then back to it.
I think that we should look into not having all the reports read from start to finish. I think we should, we have them, we should be able to review. The police report and Mark's reports, I think are
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
You know, cause I think we need to know what's going on in the community with the, as far as the arrests and drugs and anything that the police department's doing, as well as Mark, but I think we should look into accepting as presented, like we do with the minutes.
Yeah.
We don't read the minutes, we read them, and,
Okay.
and
And I
that's just
think
food for
the
thought.
conversation's more important than the actual reading of what
Agreed.
we all
Yeah.
have in front of
Agreed.
us.
So if we could just look into entertaining
Yep.
that for next month, we can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're still good with the format of these reports? All in
Absolutely, I
one?
love these,
Yeah,
yeah,
oh,
I
no,
think this is great, the report,
It
the
looks
like that
good.
is great, yes.
Alright,
And also on the note of, I know we have our trustee and committee reports coming up for the sake of weather and the fact that we have other business to do and another meeting coming up that,
Fire
can I make
through
a
'em.
motion to abstain from those this meeting unless necessary and move them to the next meeting?
Unless somebody's got something critical.
I don't think we need to make a motion, it's just if you have
Yeah,
something
you just-
important you wanna share, go
No.
for it now.
No, I have no.
All right.
committee
Alright,
Then we will bypass in this meeting,
Moving on.
for sake of
to the
weather.
east side.
Alright, Old business, this is where you want to have that
Deluxe
sewer
apartment.
packet handy.
Sky.
We've already discussed the sewer phase one bid. We tabled it last time. I am looking for a motion to award the contracts for the first phase, the sanitary sewer line, to Peter Luisi and Brothers Contracting Incorporated, as recommended by MRB.
Did you say the final amount was for
That one was
for
two.
taxpayers?
Oh, in terms of the overall budget, well, we'll get to that in a moment. But if you look at one of the last pages in that packet I gave you, that's the closest to having an updated budget. We will have another. I got the wrong packet here.
Which one you?
I got my old
Which
sewer
page?
one. Second to last page or last page?
The one that says April 2015, the one that says
December
20th.
2018.
Okay.
That's the
Back page.
closest. The very, very back is the closest we have right now. And this will adjust a little bit, and I'll explain that. Well, let me just go through this real fast.
$5 million.
We're looking at the December 20th budget. The top three are basically this contract now that we're about to award. The fourth one down, you see the estimate there is 1.265 million. That's the one that came in yesterday at 1166 or 163, 1163. And that's the one we're going to save about 102 on, which is why I penned in over on the right 102,000.
Right.
So for the contracting, that's the subtotal. It will be a little bit lower by about 100,000. Then you go down to the engineering services, and this is sort of going through the whole saga of what's happened. The original design, the original bid, the original plan for construction administration, construction observation, and additional services are listed there. Then there were 4 amendments prior to Amendment 5. And I don't remember off the top of my head what they were all specific to, but they've all gone through the process and been awarded. A lot of that was probably redesign. We had problems with Pan Am and National Grid. That took some funds away from reallocation and so on and so forth. Yeah, I know, right. And Amendment 5, we approved. Amendment 5 was where we officially decided to do the redesign and rebid it out with 2. We approved 2 parts of Amendment 5. Those 2 parts, the redesign and the rebid. We did not approve the final 3 parts, which is what we're going to go over in a minute. And that was an additional funding for construction administration, additional funding for construction observation, and 3 particular additional service budget points, which we'll go through that in a minute. Down below that in the other expenses estimate, those are pretty self-explanatory. The bond council one was at $7,500, but with the new prices, we are going to have to do some additional bond services. And that's why in the agenda we're recommending to go to a different bond council to finish this part off. So originally, if you look at the budget on the previous page, I think that was at 7,500. Yeah, it was at 7,500, and now it's at 10,000. That's the increase for that.
So if they paid for that truck out of CHIPS money, would that 47,000 be taken out, or would that be reimbursed to the village and put back into CHIPS money?
I think that since because originally when we were talking about that, we wanted the truck, but since we've done the new truck and the other new truck, we may just not even use that, and we won't even touch those funds. But the option remains, if we still need a new truck, we can use that as part of it. But that is a good question. And
Good thing, it was a electric service fee for Lyman Street. Is that, Dave, for electricity for their workshop, or?
I think those electrical upgrades they had to make.
Moving telephone poles or something?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know, I don't have what you have, but that's okay.
One of the expenses was $6,000 estimated electrical service fee for Lyman Street pump station.
Oh,
I'm guessing
probably
that's to
connect it the
increase.
grid, right?
That's probably set up, a work trailer, it's a little high though.
Was that to connect
Well, it's
in
an
and
estimate.
put a meter
It's-
in and connect it to the grid?
It's change the transformer
Yeah.
from one pole to another, install a meter.
Okay. All right.
Because the pump doesn't run on air, right?
Yeah. So the estimate
Snow
right
Street
now
Yeah.
on this
Debatable.
is a maximum of 5.235 million. It'll be lowered by a little bit over 100,000 when we plug in the new number. A couple more things will change as I talked through this today with Rich DeGuida. Once you take off the WIA grants, that will be sort of the new amount, and because that new amount is a little bit higher than the original bond resolution we did back in 2015, that's why we have to do the adjustment to the bond resolution, which will be in our, I think also will be on the business at the next special meeting or something like that.
Right.
And since we're looking at this packet, can you guys move back to page 1 is the recommendation for bid 1. Page 2 we've looked over, which is the bidding. Pages 3 through 6 is amendment 5. If you go to page 4, under scope of service and compensation, A, the redesign and service budget we've already approved. On the next page, B, the bidding services budget, we've already approved. That was rebidding twice. What we haven't done is C, which is the construction administration budget adjustment. D, the construction observation budget increase, and E, the additional engineering services. Since we're on this, let me just sort of explain everything related to this. I asked Rich why, and if you go back to, I didn't write it there. Construction administration originally was budgeted at 90,000, and construction administration is basically all of the paperwork, all of the meetings, talking to all the contractors, all the plans, all the reports, all of that stuff. The increase requested to this by Amendment 5 was $38,000, which looking at it, I thought was high, and I didn't understand sort of why, but after talking with Rich, the basic gist is because we separated out the project into 2 separate projects, now 2 separate contractors, there's going to be additional work. It's not a complete double everything, but there's going to be more, separate payouts, separate pre-contracting meetings, separate notices, separate agreements of awards, that sort of thing. The one thing he did say is, and you'll notice at the bottom of C where he talks about on page 6, it's a lump sum. I asked him to change that from a lump sum to an hourly, not to exceed $38,000, and he was okay with that. So, assuming we approve this, we will approve it on the condition that item C is changed from a lump sum to an hourly cost not to exceed, with the idea being, prior to this, it's the $38,000 goes to that and it's gone. And if they don't use it all, it's gone. In this situation, it will be done hourly, so if they only use $30,000 of it, then that's $8,000 we didn't spend.
Right. Okay.
And that approach is how we look at D, which is the construction observation budget. That's an hourly not to exceed. Now that one took a really big jump. Originally it was $125,000. This is adding another $78,000, which I was like, holy cow, what is that all about? The discussion I had on that, probably the most important thing, these numbers come out of the amount of weeks, the amount of hours in a week, and the hourly rate. Now, Dave Lucas will be the one doing the construction observation. That's where you go and making sure everything's right, making sure it's all checked out with plans. And by the way, since we've gone through all the Route 22 project stuff and all the things they screwed up and didn't do right, that's how important construction observation is. So, we love you, Dave. Do lots of good work. The number was 52 weeks, because they figured this could be a 12-year project. 12-month project, 52 weeks. They're figuring 45 hours per week. And the hourly rate, which is normally $105 an hour, has been reduced to $85 an hour. So, thank you. The big difference between the original budget and this one is the original budget planned for 8 months. Once they got looking more into it, they wanted to make sure that if it went as long as 12 months, it does. Now, if it doesn't go that long, that means we don't spend that money.
We don't spend the 7.
So everything is about hoping that this project can go well and quickly, so that if they only go 8 months, then we will not using nearly that much construction administration costs. That was, and the projects will be overlapping. The force main project is kind of the 8 to 12 month one, which is the one we're going to likely approve tonight. The second one, which is the pump station, is about 8 months, and that will start probably about a few weeks after for the next approval. But so that is the explanation for C, D, and E. And we had looked at this back in August, and none of us were like satisfied with sort of the reasoning, but that reasoning I think makes a lot more sense to me, and I like the adjustment of the lump sum to the hourly. In terms of point E, the additional engineering services, there were 3 things that were specifically listed in here, and these are just things that came up. The first one was asbestos, and asbestos air monitoring is required when the demo of 22 Lyman Street happens. That's $10,000. There was $6,000 for additional correspondences to Pan Am and National Grid because they're Pan Am and National Grid. And there was $6,000 that he was going to check into about special inspections that we think are required. But again, this is hourly not to exceed for these expenses. So I just threw a whole bunch of numbers and data at you. Do you have any questions on this before we go through?
So a lot of the savings we had from separating it actually got eaten up by engineering costs?
If everything is maxed out, yes. The savings was a little bit over 200,000. This is 138. But again, if the project only takes 8 months, then that's another 30 or 40,000 that we won't spend that we'll get back. But
I wanna
yes.
get this done as soon as possible, because then I can say I retire.
Martinez,
my motive.
Martinez has an office available over there in case you're looking for some space. I think you told me if you got this job, you'd be opening an office.
If we got water to the town,
Oh, okay.
and that's never gonna happen, probably. I'd like to stick around in about whenever you're.
Not gonna happen.
Nah.
So, going back to the old business, the first thing is the approval of phase 1, which we tabled last time, but now that all the permits are in line, we're looking to do that. So, that notice letter, I'm looking for a motion to approve award the contracts to Peter Luisi and Brothers Contracting Incorporated as they were the lowest bid, and MRB has given us the thumbs up.
Motion.
Second.
Ben and Brian, any further discussion?
And that motion, guys, to include authorization for the mayor to execute any necessary agreement.
Yes.
What he said.
Yeah, Dave.
One thing on the 45 hours per week.
Yep.
Like anybody who knows construction, it could end up being 60 hours a week. It's a total accumulation of the hours. It's whatever they wanna work. You know, it's not 45 cut in stone.
Right,
Right.
because it might be 60 and get the job done quicker.
It might be
30, because nothing happened that week.
because it's raining
There's a
cats
rain
and
over.
dogs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Alright,
I just wanted to bring that up.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We didn't need a roll call on that, did we?
We did not.
Okay, great. Alright, motion carries, bid is awarded.
So when will you
I'm
find
gonna,
out whether-
oh, this is what I'm signing right now, right?
You are
when
signing
will you
that right
find
now.
out whether you're doing horizontal or trench digging?
Real soon.
Yeah.
And
You just gotta
Once it
approve.
bid,
No, I'll have Rich try to find it out maybe tomorrow.
to see if they can be pushed toward the more favorable
No,
option.
It's a lot more expensive though, that's the
I can get that,
problem.
because
Now they're hesitant.
Come back to that.
Give them the option.
Just
but
tell them though, remind them that, it could cost them more to fix the top.
I don't think that anybody was aware that there was fabric underneath that crushed stone. I personally have never heard of it, it's just me
actually,
personally.
you can, there's parts that's washed away, you can actually see the
See it,
fabric
yeah.
coming through.
I've walked that, I didn't see it.
Right,
So you
right
need
on
to
this
do the
end down
motion.
here by,
Yep.
below the St. Mary's School.
This one here,
right
pump
there's a big
station.
wash
No,
out
wait.
there.
Yeah, there's 2
No.
spots where
We've
there's
done
some
that.
washouts there.
Okay.
Bond council?
Motion to retain bond council,
Okay.
motion
I'll
to
talk to
accept
Rich tomorrow
amendments
morning.
5.
Okay, alright. So we have already discussed the bid for pump station 2. Under new business, the second item is discussion the sewer project financing, in which I've talked about that, but we are looking for a motion to retain Tom Myers as our bond counsel for sewer projects.
Motion.
Second.
Vanessa, second Ben. Any further discussion? I'm very good with this, Denise is very good with this, and Andy's very good with this. Andy, anything else you wanna add?
No, only that, he's with a firm called the Oric Law Firm down in New York and does municipal finance work, throughout New York. And you heard the phrase, he wrote the book.
Yeah,
We did write a book on municipal finance that's used throughout the state of New York, so he comes certainly highly recommended by my office.
Okay.
Based
Okay.
on that recommendation, I certainly have no qualms.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And now amendments 5. I talked you through C, D, and E. Unless you guys have any further discussion or thoughts on that, then I would be looking to entertain a motion to approve items C, D, and E of the Amendment 5, with the one caveat that item C is changed to an hourly not to exceed description instead of the lump sum description.
Motion.
Second. Oh,
Craig and Vanessa, did you get all that? Because I'm a wordy guy tonight. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. I know there's a lot of time we put into that, but it's a really important thing. Bobby asked a really important question. What is this going to mean for the taxpayer? Now that we have all the numbers pretty much figured out, they are going to put together a new revised budget for us the next time we meet. So we'll have the idea. And one of the things we talked about in the past was, what does this mean for how many taxpayers do we have, and when does that all start? We'll have that information for you next time.
I just hope we don't have any big bond projects coming up again, because I think we're getting close to be tapped out here for
Oh yeah.
what we're paying.
Oh yeah. All right.
Particularly with the bill
Thank you,
this
Dave.
shows up in.
And this is where you kick me out, cause you're just about done. right?
Not well. It'll come soon, but yeah, if you want to get a head start. Safe driving, Dave.
thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Good night,
Thank you.
Dave. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Before Dave leaves, Rob.
Wait,
Come back.
Wait, Dave. Wait, Dave.
Wait,
Yeah, Andy, go for it.
Andy.
Starting the job and just awarded phase 1 to people easy. We need to tie off, an issue came up, we just need to make sure we tied off the license agreements with the railroad, and I think there's one with National Grid. And so what should probably be entertained is a motion to authorize the mayor to execute any documents necessary to finalize
That's really
those
good idea.
license agreements. And we'll coordinate with Denise and MRB and you, Rob,
Okay.
have that authorization through a motion.
All right. So we're looking for a motion to authorize the mayor to sign any agreements related to National Grid and Pan Am for the sewer project. Is that right?
Correct.
All right.
Kevin, it's your turn
What's that?
to make a motion.
Second.
Kevin jumped into the fray. Bobby seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And
Thank you, Andy.
we still realize that the road going down to the leachate pump station, you can't, I wouldn't take my truck down through there. It's still that rough. They never fixed it.
That's National Grid's road.
We have right of way on
We
it
do.
though.
So we have to call and complain.
I have.
All right.
Is that from the derailment?
No, that's because
I'm sure that made it worse
that the
getting
clear-
down
They
there.
did?
that,
Yeah.
I saw it,
Yeah,
yeah, I blocked it. It's
All right.
pathetic.
Follow up with me this week. Later this week on that. All right. Thank you. That's
it.
I
Yeah,
would
you
move
can
as,
say-
I would
I
move
go
as quickly
fast.
as you can.
Run.
for a fat man, I'm moving.
Go faster.
All right.
Should we call him back for fun?
We just one thing we wanted to make sure we did for the purchase of the sand grant. We have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the grant disbursement agreement through DASNY for the purchase of the excavator. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls in regular session duly convened as follows. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Hoosick Falls hereby approves the terms and conditions of the grant disbursement agreement in connection with the same grant awarded by the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York in the amount of $100,000 for the purchase of municipal equipment, specifically an excavator, and hereby authorizes the mayor of the Village of Hoosick Falls to execute the required grant disbursement agreement on behalf of the Village of Hoosick Falls in connection with such same grant, and further that the Village of Hoosick Falls proceed with the acquisition and purchase of such municipal equipment in compliance with all applicable legal requirements. I'm looking for a motion on that.
Are we buying this to tear down property?
We're buying it because we need it, and it will help us tear down properties for the Woodsbrook.
Motion.
Ben, second by Craig.
Roll call.
This does require roll call votes.
Trustee Pine,
Aye.
trustee O'Malley,
Yes.
trustee Patton,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Yes.
trustee Bushner,
Aye.
Mayor Allen,
Yes.
and deputy mayor Ryan.
Yes.
As a side note, we had two really good storms with high water in the brooks, and the area that was reinforced with is working very well.
It's working very well. I
They built a
stopped
very
by
good
them.
levee there.
But I will tell you that the one property when it goes underneath Hall Street, there's that spot between Hall Street and the Dodge building. That's scary to me. There's a sinkhole there. It's right behind the huge apartment building.
Which is leading in more and more
Yep,
there.
and we need to follow up on that as well.
That
So
vacant apartment building.
Yes.
okay, on to the
Rob,
last.
before we move on that one, if you could just confirm tonight, if one has it, to date, or the grant agreement for the excavator dated, for February 12th.
Yes, it is, thank you.
All right. Remember I signed it. I had the date. I have to make sure the date is not on this one. It's on the
On the other
agreements.
one,
Yes.
Denise, I will get her the council opinion, and it will also be dated the 12th.
Okay. Great. LWRP. I need a motion to authorize notice of intent to establish seeker. Lead agency. Do we have something to read, or is that it? The Hoosick River. Is this for the Hoosick River Greenway
This is for the Greenway. For
Northern
the,
Trailhead Improvement Project?
Yeah, this is money coming from the federal government through New York State. They have, according to BNL, this is not normal. They generally don't ask for the seeker until later in the project or after. But they want it at the beginning for this one, or else they can't proceed and we could lose the funding.
And that's bad.
Yeah, so it's super important we approve. This is the one I forwarded you from Bob, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So Andy, we're just looking for a motion authorizing me to sign this.
Nope, it's the motion to authorize it to send that out, and Rob, this is the one you and I talked about.
Right.
I'll send that out to the other interested and involved agencies.
It'll come from his
my
office.
Yep.
Okay, just looking for that motion.
Motion.
Brian? Second Craig? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you.
You got one in all.
We've already done under other, the truck, cab, chassis. We had a request from a resident, oh, do you have that?
I just handed it to you.
garage one?
No, we already
did
did
it.
that.
We did
that.
it.
Oh,
We
this
did
one.
it previously.
To adjust 2 water bills, by a total of $500, the amount was charged a water meter fine on 2 bills, the amount of $250 each. The customer confirmed that the water meter is working and no one is living there.
Can we have some context there?
I mean, we didn't see this request, right, or anything?
No, it's
Not
literally just, we
familiar
got it, I have an email from Denise.
Well, why were they
Yeah.
charged a water meter fine? Because the meter was unreadable? Is that why? On 2
Judy, do you
bills?
know? Yeah,
Yeah, running toilet or leaking
they're on the
sink?
same, no, I think they just literally added $250 onto it, because that's,
Well, usually a meter fine is correct if the meter's not operating, they
Yeah.
didn't
You couldn't
read,
read it.
right?
Yeah,
because the usage, is there.
But
and then
how
it's
is
just
the water-
straight $250 added to it?
How does the customer know the water meter's working
my question.
if no one's living there? If the power's turned off, the meter won't work, cause isn't that tapped into the power supply in the house too, I believe, or no? Isn't there a small wire of some sort?
It's just a grounding.
That's a ground wire.
That's it?
Yeah, no, that's not.
Okay,
any less
no, I'm
than
not
what's
sure,
what-
that's
yeah.
right,
But I still don't understand how the customer knows that the meter's working.
right.
I feel like Jim and Josh went down to confirm that it was working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd
I was gonna say,
our
because,
people-
I mean,
Or is the meter working but the transponder's not,
Can we
that
table
they
this?
drive by?
See,
there?
I don't
Yeah.
think there's enough information for us to act on this tonight, cause I don't know why the
All right.
250 was there to begin with and why it should be removed.
So the questions are, did our guys, see this?
yeah, can they confirm that what the resident is saying, or the homeowner is saying is,
Okay,
Well,
is
so,
accurate?
and I still don't know why the 250 fine was there twice and what's
it's
the
two
logic?
separate water
Can I see
bills.
the
So what's the logic?
Yeah, here you
I
go.
mean, there was a fine applied for some reason.
There's supposed to be there's a $250 fine if you haven't had one of the new water meters installed.
Okay,
But it sounds like they did and it just wasn't reading properly.
but that's not what it says.
Unless they put their own meter in, which isn't readable to our,
I
But
think
our
we
guys
need
will
more
catch that.
information before we act.
Certainly.
I agree.
Alright, looking for a motion to table this then.
Motion, second.
Ben, Craig, any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Table
All
till
right.
March.
Can you remind me to follow up on this one and the one from last meeting? That I have it posted on my desk for that I need to follow up
Am I
on.
not seeing the fine?
It's
It's just
she
adding the
just took out the
250 on.
250.
Oh, it's added into the water bond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's not labeled specifically.
I think there's a generic number,
Yeah.
even if it's unused, that they have is the 7037,
Yeah.
and then the 250 was the fine thing. But
Okay.
we'll get a straight story for you. Okay. At this point, I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session for the purpose
No,
of
we gotta
Nope.
appoint the
No.
election inspector.
Oh, cheapers! It's even right there.
That would be your election.
Do we have election inspectors?
Am I getting you home?
We do, no. Thank
Who
you.
are they?
They are Tony Hayes, Sandra Sargood, and Judy Vandekar.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to appoint election inspectors as
Is that a
those three.
conflict?
I hope not. It's been would be for a while. Looking for a motion to appoint those three as election inspectors.
Motion.
Second.
Brian and Craig, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Not my election.
Thank you. Thank you. That's right.
Might be nobody's.
Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel and pending
Motion.
litigation. Ben?
Before, hold on, before you do that, Rob, you did wanna talk about, scheduling a special meeting?
Oh yeah, we have to schedule the special meeting.
Thanks, Andy.
Ben is so happy that
Thanks
we're
a
waiting
lot.
longer.
Ben, let Jay do the news tomorrow.
We could simply set it
He's not
for
gonna
2 weeks from today.
he's not?
It's Tuesday evening,
26th.
What a good
February
morning.
26th. We could go sooner if you guys want.
26 works for me.
2 weeks from Tuesday, does that work for you guys?
Yeah.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Does that work?
I can't do that night, but if
I'll
Judy
let
can,
you know on the
okay.
26th, village court will, code compliance matters in a trial on a code compliance matter, that evening commencing at 6 o'clock.
So we can't do
Also,
that
we
day.
have court that
No, we
night.
can't do that.
There's court.
How about Monday the 25th?
Mark on my calendar.
Yeah, it works for me.
Andy, how
works
does
for
Monday
me.
the 25th work for you?
I do have a zoning board meeting, right now there's no options for that agenda, so right now I'm good. Even if I do have a conflict, I'll get, John to cover the zoning board meeting, so I'm available on the 25th.
I'm
All right.
not available on the 25th.
Is it gonna break your heart if you're not here for this meeting? Okay.
You guys gotta do what you gotta do.
Alright. Alright. Then we will schedule the special meeting for the 25th,
Yep.
Monday night. Yep.
That, is that 6 o'clock?
Yeah, 6
Yeah.
p.m.
And that's gonna be for what reason?
That will be to a couple little things that we tabled and approving the second bid of the sewer projects,
Right.
so that can work on and continue moving just like that for the minutes,
And-
just
I
like
actually
that.
might be able to attend that. if
You'll
it's
probably
Monday the
speak
25th.
sooner, we'll probably.
Well,
Oh,
Right.
speak soon. We'll hopefully also present there.
Yeah, that night, I,
Okay.
well,
If
hopefully.
if they're free.
That will also be for the purpose of considering an amended bond resolution
Yes.
for the project.
Yes, the amended bond resolution as well to make the bond resolution changes we have to for a sewer project. All right. Looking for a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel and pending litigation. Ben,
Vanessa.
second Vanessa. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Get out.
We are in executive session
Can we make the
at
motion to adjourn?
8:13 p.m. No, we can't do that yet.
Alright, let's
All right.
go right into the